Welcome to GalacticConnection.com, one of the most popular blogs on the World Wide Web today for alternative news. Stay tuned for the latest information on our world shift from enslavement to galactic involvement, as well as current intel on any blockages impeding us from our sovereign birthright. Knowledge and self-mastery are key at this time. Our commitment is to present you with the latest breaking conspiratorial articles, off-world messages, exopolitics, cutting-edge technologies and sciences, and also an ever-significant intertwining of spiritual support and metaphysical scope that one needs to dive down the rabbit hole in search for truth with balance. We are truly on the horizon of a new golden age filled with the promise for more love, worldwide peace, and accelerated intuitive skills, where every living being can exist in cohesion and abundance. It is whatever we envision and dream this new world to be. I say to you now, let's redefine the new world to the beginnings of our own precious heaven on earth. Galactic Connection is here to provide the pulse of Mother Earth through an eclectic range of interviews each Tuesday afternoon from 3 to 4:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Station 2 on BVS Radio, expanding your perspectives on how we can once and for all take back our freedoms, our joy, and our connection with our mighty I Am presence. Our intention remains true to connect hearts and minds everywhere in order to obtain global unity and galactic and universal acceptance. Our discussions will continue to cover anything to do with galactic society and our involvement with our galactic brothers and sisters. Our guests are experts in their fields, and our radio shows have been coined as some of the most thought-provoking out there. In addition to our daily blog, which runs 365 days a year, we also offer a realm of healing services such as our world-renowned implant removal processes, our spiritual past life clearings, our galactic violet ray alchemy from Alexandra, who shares in the lineage of Merlin, and other cutting-edge healing technologies. Check our site out at GalacticConnection.com now, sending you a wave of light, love, and inspiration, and a personal hug and thank you for listening to our Galactic Connection radio show and visiting our blog today. Well, hello everyone. This is Alexandra Metters of GalacticConnection.com, and believe it or not, I'm on the road in none other than Ireland, and it is truly a dream come true. I have been dreaming about coming here since I was a little girl. Many of you know that I am of Irish descent, obviously, and this is really, truly an honor to be here. I got the call and I came. I am on a spiritual mission like none other, and I'm also traveling with my friend and comrade, Laura Legere. So Laura, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
So we've been here for some time. We're really enjoying ourselves, and at the same time, we're doing a lot of work for the planet and the people. And as I was coming off of the Hill of Tara, I met some very interesting men, one in which his name is JP and your last name is?
Fae.
Fae. Can you guys get over that? JP Fae. There's a ding, ding, ding. Anyway, JP started talking to me a great deal about the history behind the Hill of Tara. And I thought all of you would be as fascinated, if not more, than I was. Literally sitting here not wanting to leave his side because he has so much information. And I also have another gentleman here named Kerry, and he's very, very special. He writes poetry, and he has actually quite a bit of information as well. I kind of look at the two of these men as the guardians of the Hill of Tara, and they're going to talk to you a little bit about why it was truly under attack by the government and what they've done to try to prevent things from going that way. And we will dive a little bit deeper into that. In the meantime, I just want to thank everyone for supporting Galactic Connection and responding to the new alchemical essence line called Releasing Yourself from Quantum Entanglement, as well as the Sacred Egyptian Oils line. The response has been overwhelming. I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart. And also, just remember, we make these.
by hand. They are not pulled off of a shelf. So please be patient with us as we try to catch up on the orders. So with that said, you can catch this on BBS Radio Station 2 on Tuesday afternoons from 3 to 4:55. You know me, I just dive right in there, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And
right, you are.
And this is JP, and JP, I really would like you to just explain to people, how did you come about having such a passion to study and be involved with the Hill of Tara? Because you mentioned something about how you used to own the land across the way of the Hill of Ward.
Ward's Hill is two different places. One is the Hill of Ward, that's Clachta, where they light the fires, and it's a big mounds and stuff there. So we go there in the once a year, and we light the fires and take them back to here.
Got it.
But my mother's family was Ward's Sacred Hill, and she was a ward out of the hill, and I probably was brought up with it because my mother had these old traditions. Like in 1976, the last of my family on the old hill had no electricity or anything. And they came from all over the world to interview the two old men that lived there. Were farmers.
Amazing. And
they were simple people. But they knew everything. They seemed to know everything. Everything was, people came to find out. There was one guy came from America to find out about who his mother was and all things like that. He was a priest, and they were able to tell him even when he was conceived.
Wow. Because
he was an illegitimate child at the time, and he was taken away and sold to America. So it's old history of here. But I came here as a child. There was a thing on television in America called Wagon Train, and I've been living out in the country. We all had, we call them burros or donkeys, we call them asses here. And we saddled up and we came to here. And we're only kids, small kids.
Amazing.
But we let them out on the hill with our chuck wagon. And I had a sore bum for a week when my mother got me.
I bet.
Because they were out looking for us on their bicycles. And we're all here.
That's amazing.
So we have been coming here, but the Hill of Tara is like a magnet. It draws you. There's a girl in Mount Shasta in California.
Yes.
And she comes here, she's been here twice, but something comes over her and she wants to come here. And there's people here. Sean, you met our historian.
Yes.
Sean just is at home and he just gets into his car and he's here. You know, he's to drive from one side of Dublin.
Wow.
But there's people like that here all the time. And you see, Tara, when you come to Tara, you don't see a lot. You see big mounds, a beautiful view. But it's not that high of a hill, just there's all flat land around it.
True.
But it's all about energy here. One side of the hill is negative. The other side is positive. And there's this big wide energy line. That's one of the lines. It goes down to a fairy tree. And I was here one day in the wintertime, and Shoshone Indians came here.
Wow.
And the women were doing a ceremony down at the tree. And this big rainbow came down on the grass, right down to the tree. And I was talking to the men up at a spot I have where there's 2 or 3 energy lines go across one another. What's it called, Kerry? A node?
He called it a node, but
energy lines cross.
Spiral of energy.
Yeah. So
like a portal.
Yeah, we were up there
well.
talking to the men, and next I looked and I see this thing. But then one year here, we had a hut down in the fields when we were protesting, and it was the 1st of May, belting. And we dressed up a tree here. We put eggshells on the tree, painted them, put eggshells on it, we put wool on it and all that, thanking the gods for giving us eggs, the hens that hatch with baby lambs. So we were thanking them, so we dressed up a tree to the gods.
Interesting.
And it was a lovely sunny day. There was a guy standing at the door of the hut and he says, "Come out quick, lads." We went out and this big rainbow came down the field, through the tree, into the door of the hut and out the back of the hut and round the shack we had.
Amazing.
So, but then here cars get sucked across the road with the brakes on. I've seen brand new cars, automatics in park, handbrake on, they still get sucked across the road. And cars, their batteries go dead as well. You know, and it's nothing will stop that car when it takes off. It's just bit by bit. You wouldn't see it move, you know.
I've had that happen in similar areas in California as well, where it just drained my battery all the way to nothing.
But you see, there was 176 high kings here. And when you look, the campus of Tara was 6 miles in diameter, with all these other outriding hills after the 6 miles. And there's a big energy line that goes from here. Opus Dei, you ever hear of Opus Dei?
Oh, yes.
Well, Opus Dei have built a campus down there in the valleys, just down a mile, half a mile down the road. And they have a big campus down there, it's huge. And they pray there all the time. They come from all over the world.
Is this in this town?
It's just down here. It's here on the hill.
Okay, because they're in quite a bit of hot water at this point in time.
So they set up shop there, and they're on top of the big energy line. And that goes out to Scalig Michael.
Yes, I've heard of that.
In Kerry. And it's supposed to be the energy line to the other world or to Atlantis. And that's why they set up shop there. Now down this way here, you can see it from the top of the hill, this massive place for priests. They're Columbans. Now they don't like the other crowd.
The Opus Dei.
But, so they have a big place. And there's an energy line that crosses the River Bine. The River Bine is Bow, cow, holy cow. It's a sacred river. That's why the Battle of the Bine was fought across it. It had to be fought over a sacred river. It had nothing to do with Ireland, the Battle of the Bine. Just they fought it across the sacred river. And where the Druids was baptized. Now, Ben Brady, Sean Brady was the Cardinal of Ireland.
Okay.
Ben Brady was the Druidic, but he never called himself a Druid, because he called himself a warlock, because the Druids merged with the Catholic Church. So
when was that? When was that?
I don't know. I don't know what date. You want Sean here to tell you. But they, down here where the Druids were baptized in the river, dipped in it.
Okay.
The follow-on of that line, it's an energy line that crosses the river, went to a mound right in where the Columban Fathers is. That's where they built their headquarters.
Okay.
To go all over the world as missionaries. Massive building. It's all underground. There's everything there.
Isn't there a St. Columba's Church in Kells?
Yeah.
Okay, we went there.
You can call him Columbanus or Columba. In places he's Columba, in other places he's Columbanus. But Ben was earmarked to go to Rome to be a priest. But then his uncle on the other side of the family baptized him in the river and he couldn't go. So he'd be kind of the last hereditary Druid in Ireland. He died in 1997.
Wow.
He had 3 daughters and nobody followed on. Oh, now, I'm a cousin of the Cardinal and a cousin of Ben's.
Okay.
On my father's side.
Interesting.
And then my mother's side is, my mother was, she didn't know it, but she was a little redneck farmer's wife. And
I didn't know they had rednecks here in Ireland.
Yeah. But she wore long frocks and she painted, and she gave out about everything. But she had her buddies. There was a whole gang of these guys, but they didn't know what a hippie was. But they were the forerunners of taking on the likes of fighting and giving out about things. And the time then, they had a big hunger strike here.
Yes.
She gave out the rosary off the back of the lorries every time one of them died. But at the same time, she'd be quite happy here on the hill. You see, most pagans in Ireland, there's different types of them, what they follow. Like I follow one type of our beliefs, other people follow their beliefs, but we all kind of join together as a community. And the strange thing about it is, they keep trying to stamp us out, the government. Like they want to open up all our sacred places to tourism. Nothing about we want to use them for our praying and
Sure.
all this sort of stuff we
Sure.
do. And they think that we're tree huggers and dopers and all this sort. This is the image they like to print off us people. But at the same time, we have girls down the road. They have a small bit of land. They have all these polytunnels up. They worked for the health service here and that at assessing people for mental illness, drugs and all that. And they reckon the government wasn't doing enough, so they've set up their own place. Now they've
Right on.
retired, and they have these polytunnels growing vegetables, they have geese, chickens, all this sort of stuff. And it's somewhere for people that has mental issues, drug issues, and all sorts of issues come there, and they're all in a group together.
That's fantastic.
And that's what they don't like want to see, that side of it.
Sure, they don't want to see the community supporting one another.
Yeah, so there is, this is down, it's just only a couple of miles away from here. They come up to us here and we talk, and their place was all hatched at this wall here, the famous wall. And little things like that, and because we don't take anything off the government, or we don't want anything off them. And in my view, they should be disbanded because they're really just parasites.
They totally are. We are 100% in agreement, and I feel America is waking up. There's a very strong movement to...
What is going to change America, and I've been saying this for a long time, is the computer. A son and a daughter came to Europe on holidays, and they went back, and they were on the computers, and their grandfather put them out of the house because he wouldn't believe what was on the computer. He said it was all bullshit.
Interesting.
Because he was...
Is this fairly typical of that age group?
Because in Midwest, say a Midwest American country, rural areas and all that, they're listening to bullshit from the likes of the government, the news.
Absolutely.
And the same is here. The very same.
We're no different.
We're no different.
Exactly.
And like if you look at, you have here they fought with bow and arrows and spears, and they're supposed to be awful cruel. Say in Africa and different places, and in Europe, the old wars and battles they had. What different is it today when you have a drone bombing children in a school in Syria?
Totally agree.
Or somewhere else. There's no difference. And these are supposed to be educated people.
Sure.
I've one thing going for me. I'm dyslexic. Really dyslexic. And I can just about write my name. I don't read books or nothing. But I've done a lot of travelling in my time. And working abroad and that. And I don't know. I think I have a...
You're very wise, though.
Yeah,
That's
but here, but Tara... There's something about Tara. We can't live without her. Something draws us up here. Kerry as well. And the people we meet here, it's like going to school. It's like a college. Because you're meeting people like you from America.
Yes.
You're people from Europe. And you're talking and changing. We mightn't agree with them all the time, but you see, you have to have respect for your fellow man.
I agree.
And whether he's black, green, yellow, what colour he is. Say you were in the desert. What do you call that big desert in Africa? It's really hot. The Kalahari Desert.
Kalahari, yeah.
And there's a little guy there with his goats and his little hut and his children. Now you go to Beverly Hills, Beverly Hillbillies, that's what we've seen, but if you go to Beverly Hills...
Oh my God, that brings back memories.
You go to Beverly Hills and you look at a guy and he's 3 or 4 cars in his garage and he's a toilet in every room.
Yes.
In my day, when I was reared in a little old straw roofed house, we had the outhouse outside.
Yes. Yes.
And one...
I still see some of the houses out here like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And so now they have a toilet in every room, but he's only doing the same. He's no different than the guy in the desert. He's rearing his family, but he's in a different time zone. Mm-hmm. And I often think that all Europe, America, the civilized West, the civilized Europe or whatever, maybe are they that civilized? you know, because it's a price to pay. We're polluting the planet. We're doing everything that we can do with genetics, for preservatives in food. The rates of cancer is going up. It's just, they put a new motorway not too far away, not this one, but they put one away. And I was looking at a fella and I said to him, I was at a holy well one snowy morning, and I said to him, what about your cattle? I could hear this noise. He says, since the motorway went in, his cattle are not happy. Because there's a row of hills and it's echoing. They have concrete barriers down the middle of the road, and it's echoing back on the hills, and the cattle are not resting or not.
Yeah, they're stressed out.
Yeah, it's stressing them. So,
well, tell the audience about the story. That's so fascinating. The story of the government absolutely not taking no for an answer and insisting that they create a road through all these ancient sites, including the Hill of Tara. Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Well, originally I knew people, and they wanted to put a rail link. We're only 30 miles from the city, a high-speed rail link into the city.
Okay.
To get students and people to work. And everyone was for that. So they were fighting it. And next this famous motorway came along. And they give routes. So I got a couple of guys, and we went off and we surveyed the old railway line to Navan, that's the town down from the Hill of Tara, on Ove. And we surveyed it and we got it to 2 degrees of grade for a high-speed train. Perfect route. There was only 9 inches of topsoil to come off it. Put in the motorway, put in the road on the rail link on the side of the motorway, so it could be serviced by a little trunk road all along. And we were all happy. Everyone was happy because that was the old railway line. And the British, at the time they put it in, built it in 3 years and had a train running on it.
Jeez.
So this was the perfect route, dead straight, like that. And they put in, as an option, they put in all these other routes. And they started picking them. And they put one into, it's like Jerusalem, where they put it right into a football pitch, one of the roads. You don't do that in Ireland.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, no, you're in big trouble. That was, so that all these routes, but they never had the route that they were going to go up. And then all of a sudden, they started doing this route. And I looked at it. We put in our stuff to the government. We put our stuff into the councils, our drawings and our levels and all our work.
Sure.
It was 2 years' work done on it, like, you know.
Oh my gosh.
So, they denied ever receiving this.
Oh my.
I got beaten up, was in hospital.
Oh my God.
So then they turned around and they started to, before the contracts was out, they were that bad. The main entrance into here is a place called Ratloo. It's a mile away, and it's all these circles and rings and everything, and it's a very powerful place, and there's different energies in it.
I'll have to check it out.
And they came in from one way, and another day they came to measure, and they came in a different way, and they got the whole measurements all wrong. But when we'd ask the council anything, they would tell you nothing. Until one day, I got a politician to come with me, and he would be their boss. So when you have a politician with you, he threatened them. He says, if you tell me a lie, I'll sack you.
Okay.
And they started to tell the truth. And it was like if somebody got violent. You ever get violently sick in a car after a drink or something?
Yes.
They got sick in that office.
Wow.
So we caught them out. But that made no difference. They bullied away and bullied. And it was all about LSD. They surveyed the route originally. And it's about 56 years ago. I was a kid.
Oh.
Or it's more. It's nearly 56. It's nearly 60 years ago.
That they had already made this decision.
Yes, I had a little kid and this route picked.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Now, when you say they, who are you referring to?
The government.
And who do you think's behind that?
Well, I don't know. I can't understand. If you go 3 miles in a circle, and then you trash an underground city. You trash where the Nafina warriors, where Finn McCool's warriors were cremated and buried after the big Battle of the Gower. And then you come through the feasting grounds, the big feasting grounds. There's 12 foot of ash in the feasting ground. And those giant antelope's bones. And they said, oh, it was this, that, and the other. But they dug out every bit of ash. They left no trace.
Whoa.
And then they came down. It was 43 archaeological digs they'd done in a short stretch of road. Now, I haven't got the drawings with me. And if you've seen all the dots, one after another, it was like if it was trashed of a purpose.
Yeah, it sounds.
Were they trying to... well, the archaeologists are only working for the government, but then the archaeologists, they're a pain in the arse, some of them, because they have government contracts and they just do what they're told.
Yeah.
Now, we have a couple of good archaeologists, and one of them give out that much. They made him head of all the archaeology here. Conor Newman in NUI Galway and Dr. Joe Fenwick, NUI Galway, the two of them. They were really done all the work here originally, the discovery program about the whole Hill of Tara, and they're doing fantastic work. But then they tie their hands. So it's a disgrace. Like when you come here as a tourist and they're pumping this shit at you, but they only want bums on seats of buses and money. They don't care anything about our spiritual beliefs.
Right.
Now we have a declaration from the UN of human where our entitlements. Have you got it, Kerry? Declaration.
They're not handy. I have it here somewhere.
He has Kerry read it out for you.
Okay.
But they don't recognise it.
Isn't that interesting?
So we're going to take them on now. Like we're taking them on all the time.
Well, in fact, you took them on so much that you ended up in jail, right?
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Well, I was in jail with a couple of guys. And you know, one flew over the cuckoo's nest?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd only be a little drama compared to the guys I was in jail with.
Oh my!
I was in jail with Jesus Christ, and I went to get up one morning. We're in one little cell, and there was a toilet in the cell. And I wanted to use the toilet. He says, "You can't use it. All the apostles is there, and Jesus is sitting on the bowl."
Oh my God!
And then we had another guy that done. It was like a lunatic. We had a fellow that didn't know what money was, a German, and he had stones. We're all in jail together, you know.
It must have been such a trip.
Ah, yeah,
How
really
long were
good.
you there for?
We're there for over a week.
Over a week.
We're just on remand, but we fought them for 2 years and we won our case.
Right on. Good for you. Now, when they showed up, did they show up specifically to arrest you? Were they sent in?
They were cute. I had an office here at the time, and I wouldn't be down when they were protesting or anything. I'd be man in the office. So a girl came one day and she says, "You better go down there, they're beating a girl." So I went down to have a look.
Oh my God.
But it was a hit that was on. They arrested all the key people. There was a doctor out of a college, a professor, and she was arrested and a few more. Just arrested, bump, 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 bump.
Because you all were very much trying to...
Yeah, well, they maintained that we were the
happening.
ringleaders, but there's no ringleaders, you see. When one person steps one side or is arrested, another person just stands into the breach.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Like anonymous.
Yeah.
I just love that about the Irish, because you all are so united in your passion to keep your ancient history going.
Well, there's some
to
of us,
respect it. Like
yeah, but the people that's here now, that maybe a younger generation than me, they are not educated enough. As they get educated, they want to protect it.
Yes.
But you see, with the Catholic Church playing such a big part in Ireland, with the government, because when they took over Ireland, we were so poor here. The Catholic Church come in like they're in India or in the Far East now.
Yes.
They come in as their saviours, or in Africa, but they're really not. Like when they couldn't kill the people in Africa with swords, they built a college here. The British Empire built a big college called Maynooth, and they made priests, and then they went out to Africa and they bet them to death with Bibles.
Right.
So what difference is there, you know?
True. It's very true.
But Tara is a very, very weird place in all this area. Not weird, I don't mean weird, but the energy. And if you do anything on Tara, you will pay for it, you know.
If you do what?
Do anything on it.
On it.
Yeah. Like, there was a guy here, there was a spy, and he had places, friends in high places. And he was found, I'll start again. There was a fellow dug up on the hill here, a dig, in olden times. And he came across a body, and it was a young European body, and he was found the next morning in bed in a hotel, and his face was all distorted and weird looking. Wow. The women were afraid to touch him or anything. He was only a young man. But then the time we were at the protest here, there was this other guy here, and I cornered him up and interviewed him.
Interesting.
And he was found in Spain with his girlfriend, and he was running around this hostel, and he OD'd. He was shoving handfuls of coke into his mouth because there was a monster after him around the hostel.
Sounds like he became possessed.
Yeah, the very same as the other guy in the hotel room. And he was a spy here for the government.
So there's basically an ancient knowledge or almost a radar system, if you want to call it that knows that if there's somebody that's negatively trying to hurt this area or hurt the energies or even the ancestors. Tell us a little bit about who is underneath the hill of Tara. What do you know?
I don't. What I think of Tara myself, and from when I was a kid, we used to go to this hill with a CB and we could get nowhere. And then we could get nowhere at home. But on this hill we could talk to New York, Russia, we could talk to anywhere. And we thought it funny. So then I put it to Sean years after. And then we met the old guy that worked for the CIA, and they built this radio mast there for broadcasting, Radio Tara. And to see, the American government is of the belief that if anyone came in from outer space here, that they would fly in on a wavelength. And I believe that's what did happen here, because it's a natural wavelength that's around the world. And they set up shop here, because you see, this was an island in ancient times. So it was a place that you could protect easy enough.
Yes.
And so just a couple of miles away is where Radio Tara was set up. So then Clachta in the old, that's the Hill of War, Clachta in the old archives, they talk about flying machines. But from Clachta to Wicklow, which is 60 mile, Kerry? Yeah, around 60 mile. There's a row of big standing stones right along in a row. And they're quartz, and they go down into granite, which is radioactive. And I have a funny feeling that maybe these people's machines flew up. Why would these big standing stones, some of them go up 20 foot in the air and 30 foot in the ground? Does it add up why they're there? And there's big circles of stones near them and everything.
I got a hit that this location was also a landing pad at one time long ago for.
Well, that's what we think.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And
I actually saw it when I walked onto the hill. I turned to Laura and I said, "This was a landing pad for ships."
My sister died in Canada, outside Edmonton, Loch Sedano, Holy Lake. And 3 days before she died, her husband jumped up in the bed and was sitting there looking at her, the two of them together, looking out of a mound. Now, he was never in Tara in his life. He's Irish from down the other end of Ireland. He was never here. So when I was in jail, he came over here, flew in, see what was happening. And I brought him, I was out of jail then, I brought him up here, and there's a film that you can see about Tara in the church. And he looked at it and he started screaming in the church. And he came out of the church and we walked over, we said nothing to him. And he looked into the mound and he'd say, Bridget, that was my sister, Bridget, are you in there? Are you in there? So he hadn't a drink about in 30 years. And he says, I need a drink. So we went to the bar and he got a drink. And I said, I only need one. And then he told me what he's seen in Canada.
Wow.
He's seen that he was looking out through the gate up there at the mound, and they had no clothes on them. And they could see all these people coming. And I asked him what way they were dressed. And he said that they were dressed in a kind of a woven, rough material. And their hairs were cut like Rome or whatever, Greek or whatever. Now, the very same thing happened the morning when they bulldozed the graveyard where the Nafina warriors was buried, Collierstown.
Wow.
All the cattle from miles round broke out and all came running up the fields. And there was 2 big shots graves. One was a man, and the big shots were buried, and they only 5/8 after the battle were cremated.
Battle of what?
The Battle of the Gower.
Gower. Okay.
Finn McCool. Finn McCool was dead, the
Okay.
famous Finn McCool. His 2 sons, and they were losing power with the Nafina warriors. So if one of them became High King, they could control again. But they lost the battle.
Interesting.
But the cattle all came running, and they looked and all stood in front of one grave, and then all the female cattle moved over and looked into the female grave.
Amazing.
And we were standing there looking at this with our mouths open. But sometimes I see things. What had happened was the follied people, spirits all came back round and the cattle follied them. And that's why they came running. There was steam coming off their backs. Some of them had galloped for miles, these cattle, to get there. That's when they interfered.
Fascinating.
And then there was different things, that trees fell on fellas' heads and out and off the crowd that was working, you know. And Kerry will tell you more. Kerry has, have you the goddess? Kerry will read you a poem. Have you the goddess one?
I have someone here, yeah.
Do you know the goddess one? Rue?
I have it here, yeah.
Kerry will read you a poem now. Give me a little rest for a minute.
Okay. Well, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one of the ones you've written, correct?
I started writing poetry. I never wrote poetry before the protest, and during the protest we all gathered here because we were disgusted at the way they were destroying 39, actually 42 old sites that is destroyed.
42
old
destroyed.
sites. And they had a route. JP had done a lot of work and found the old railway line which they'd taken up, and it was the right place to put the motorway, because it started and finished in the very same place as the motorway now goes. And the motorway, what had happened was the land where they put the motorway now was land that was protected because it was protected by a Monuments Act, so it wasn't worth much money, nobody could build it. So there was a 2007 Monuments Act, and they brought an amendment to the monument which protected the monuments. So they brought an amendment to the 2007 Monuments Act, which meant that if a monument was in the way of an approved road, which means if a road is approved and you came across a monument, you could walk away and knock it. So when that went through very, very handy, because it seemed that it wouldn't do much harm.
Sure.
But on the basis of that, if that law which allowed to destroy one monument also allowed you to destroy 42 monuments if the road was approved. So they picked the motorway right through the Tara Valley, and we're told that certain politicians and their friends bought up the land very cheap. In advance they knew the motorway was going to be there, and the land was going to be worth an awful lot of money for various different things along a motorway, for building, etc. in the future. And so it was speculation and money, as JP said, LSD, which was pounds, shillings and pence, not a drug. And so on the basis of that, they pushed the road through. So we formed a group And JP came round to my house with a few girls and said, we're starting a protest. And we came up and we got stuck in at the very beginning. And we had on the Hill of Tara here, we gave out information. I brought out the first poems I wrote. A chap from Glastonbury called Shano said, if you give me some of these poems, I will get a portrait book done, and we can sell the portrait book, and the money can go towards buying food and giving out information and paying maybe for various different things. So we started up giving information, and some of the girls put all the stuff up on the internet so everybody knew what was going on. So I got this with my first book, and it was the first poems. I started writing poems sitting around the fire. Everybody started telling stories, and I just started writing poems. And when so Shano I met him at a bus stop and gave him a couple of papers, me poems, and he came back with this book, which we call The Vigil. And there's a white horse on the front, which is
beautiful.
The goddess, you see, there's a goddess down in the valley, goddess mare, the white mare. And the white mare appears down in the valley occasionally.
Wow.
A woman went out one morning to her horses, and she's this beautiful white mare, and she looked again, and she was gone. And say that the story of Oisin and Tiernan Og, do you know that story?
No.
It's a little book, you can buy it in the shops, a child's story about Oisin going to Tiernan Og. That's the other world, on a horse. So you should get that little book. It's about €3.
Is it in the book?
I'd say it could be in there.
Okay.
Oisin and Tiernan Og, and it's in it.
Beautiful.
And that's what this is about, the energy line, where Opus Dei set up shop. You know. Go on, Kerry, with your poem.
So they pushed the road straight through, and then people came from all over the world, from America, Canada, everywhere, Australia. Hundreds and hundreds of people came, and we had a protest camp right down at Ratloo, and an information camp here. And the protesters came and they stood in front of diggers, and they did everything they could and drew attention to the fact that these old sites were being destroyed. And they found the biggest find in 100 years was a wood henge, and it was aligned to I think it was aligned to the Seven Sisters,
the Pleiades,
and they still hadn't studied it. But when they were marking out the motorway, they didn't find it. I think they didn't find it on purpose. But there was a good.
They knew it was there.
Yeah, but a good archaeologist, I think his name was Aidan Connors. I'm not sure what his name was, but he found one of the post holes, and he found the whole wood henge, and it was declared a national monument. And then they said we'll record it to memory, but we'll destroy it.
Jeez.
So after we were trying to get the protectors, and we stood around in circles, and we did everything we could to draw attention to it.
It was the finest wood henge in the world. The timber was still in the holes in white sand. Yeah. And they could flood it and have a mirror image with water, and all these holes were everywhere in it. And there also was a Barbary ape found out at the main door, buried in front of the main door.
I noticed that was also at Nowth, right?
Yeah, and
Newgrange.
And Kells
and Kells had it as well.
Barbary ape.
Tell me, what is the purpose of the say what it is? It's a wood grange?
It's a henge.
Word henge. Excuse me.
And there seemed to be, I don't know, but I think they could plot all the movement of stars and alignments and all that sort of stuff with the wood henge, as well as being a temple. I think myself that there was families and generations of people, or the one family worked there and built up all this knowledge. Because the people were genius. If you look at this mound here, this here is a Samhain site.
Yes.
And the sun shines in perfect on a certain day.
Yes.
Twice in the year. And the moon shines in as well. And every mound in Ireland is the same. So how did these people know to do this?
Of course. You know? Oh, that's a great photo. I got some photos while I went in there.
At Samhain and Inbug.
Which one is that in?
This is the Mound of the Hostages, and it's still not recognised as being a solar alignment.
That's Mound of the Hostages? Yes. You actually got in?
Yeah, that's the light. No, that's the light from out through the gate.
That's the shape of the gate on the back.
He's out the other side of the gate taking the photograph.
And that's proof that it's a solar alignment. Twice a year. It took me 6 years to get that photograph because it's been cloudy.
Well, why is it called the Mound of Hostages?
The Mound of the Hostages is a ridiculous name for it. It's to do with, I think it's I think it was a con of the 100 battles, used to go to Scotland and they took hostages from and they bring them. I think that's a ridiculous name. It would have a pagan name which wasn't documented, the same as Rathcronia. A lot of these old sites, and Ringilstown Rath hasn't even got a name, and they're all very, very important places, but we've lost, the names haven't been documented.
Like on Kerry's property, he's his own henge.
I've Riverstone henge.
On his property.
I've taken measurements there myself, and I found that it's aligned to the winter solstice. There's a bank of clay, and the centre of between two banks of clay, I hammered down a marker, and I marked the centre of the circle, and I lined the two of them up and watched during the year. And on the 21st of December, the winter solstice, the sun came up. When you line the two markers up, the sun came up. And he asked Kevin Pendergast, who was in authority on astronomy and stuff, he was giving a lecture once, and I stood up and said, how I found this out, why haven't you found it out? And he said, there are too many sites and not enough funds and not enough time allocated to do it.
Our own archaeologists here refused to work on the road. They dug with little shovels where the people could see them driving by, and there were a dig going on. But down further where you couldn't see them, they used bulldozers. So our own archaeologists that we knew left jacked up.
Yes.
And had no jobs. One guy spent a winter living in a little tent here on this hill from Poland. He says it was wrong what was happening.
He's like a conscientious objector. He would not work. He would not destroy monuments, and he couldn't go along with it. And he lived in poverty. He has a good job now, but he just couldn't do it, you know. And
how far back do you think these sites go?
This mound up here is the ash.
Okay.
Was aged. The charcoal was aged at 5,500 years.
Okay.
Now there's a bigger sound site down in Loughcrew where all the mounds are. There's about 30 mounds down there. Some of the best art in Europe is inside in one of the mounds.
And the reason for the mounds was that not only for ritual ceremony and also the aligning of the sun and the moon, but wasn't it also protection?
Yeah, but they use them at different stages to put in people's heads and bones into them. Like if you're somebody big, it was the place to, at some stage,
to house their bones in their body.
Yeah, just their heads maybe or whatever. You know.
But the were aligned. The Loughcrew would be the equinox, the autumn equinox, when day and night are 12 hours. And the 21st of March and the 21st of September, the autumn and the spring equinoxes, the sun goes through the passageway and shines on certain emblems like I've drawn here on the wall.
Yes.
And the sun starts shining on one emblem, and as it moves from one emblem to another. And this was done 5,000 years ago. And
very interesting. So that's actually an activation code.
It is, yeah. So it moves from one emblem to another as the sun moves.
I've never heard that
before.
But then
there's a Samhain site in Loughcrew as well, and it's the biggest in Ireland. About 30 people can fit into it, and there's a giant bowl. And the light hits a stone in the middle, and just as it's leaving, it hits a cornerstone up here, and lights up the other side. And we were in at one Samhain, and there was chanting going on. There was Palestinians there, and people that were just appeared on the site, and they were all chanting that day. And 3 girls got into the bowl. There's this big cut stone bowl in it. And when they got out of the bowl, they were cuckoo. They lost their keys, their coats, and one of them was actually looking for a fight afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
They were away with the fairies after whatever the energy.
They went into a different different reality, actually.
But there's funny things here in this country. Shongal Martin would tell you if he was here, but in 1997 the American Indians came here and they went round Ireland and they had ceremonies all over Ireland. And they planned it to go to all these sacred sites and to different places. And they also went to, what was that general? Sheridan is Irish. And they went up and all peed on his grave.
He was involved in massacres.
Kind of like Custer.
Yeah. And but when they were planning them,
that's interesting.
A busload went one night and they done a ceremony down in a place called Moon. And they done the ceremony, and there was this guy called Kevin Hayes, we have another name from the Black Hole, but the Black Hole was sitting outside smoking a cigarette, and the women were doing the ceremony. And 2 women come out through the door. and they said they were going for a stroll and a pee. But they never went out by him. So about 5 hours later, everyone was given out. It was coming on dawn. Where's these two women? We'll kill them if we get their hands. They're asleep somewhere. So the two women appeared back. And they said they were in a different time warp place, a couple of 100 years old. Now, the only way out of it was by Kevin. So they never came out that way. And
That's cool.
so I was doing a lot of thinking about it. But a couple of days later, now these women wouldn't know one another, just that they got on this bus to go there. One spotted one another in Dublin on the street, and she called her over. And she says, remember the other day what happened is, yeah. She says, look at it. And she pulled up her jumper. And there was a map on her belly, on her stomach. A red map.
Oh my God.
And the other one had a frock on her. She'd come on into the pub and the two of them went into the ladies. And she pulled up her frock and she had the very same map. Now, so they started thinking about this. Now, the same river that goes by there, and it's moon. Jesus of Nazareth is supposed to come to moon at the end of the world. This is what the old people say down there.
Say that again. The old people say
that Jesus of Nazareth will come to moon at the end of the world.
Will come to the moon.
To moon.
Come to moon.
Moon is a village.
Is it a village?
A little
Okay.
tiny village. But it's only 3 miles away from where the big college for the Druids was, where Jesus is supposed to have spent a few years as a student, learning the old religion of the world in the college. There was a house built by the Jews there, and all these young rabbis had come there to learn the old religion and then go back to become rabbis.
Right.
And they say, this is why the old people says that Jesus is coming at the end of the world to moon.
Got it.
And there's nothing there in moon, but when you look at all the hills and the position of it, there's a little tiny ancient graveyard. And it's all farmland, but at one time it would have been swamps where the river flowed, you know.
Okay.
And a girl went missing here, and we all have been down there dousing. We don't know whether we think she was murdered.
Oh.
But the last place she was seen was at a phone box. Caius, standing at the door, and when I double checked it, the middle of the door of the phone box, there's a slab of concrete, the phone box is gone now, it's the old ancient phone box. And on the slab where she was standing is where the big energy line goes down through moon.
Oh.
So did she vanish into that, or was she murdered? Yeah, was she murdered?
Right.
Well, I have my own view on where she was murdered and who murdered her, you know.
Man.
I've done a bit of delving into the past, you know.
That's crazy. Well, I guess we should let him read his poem.
Yes. Yeah. Come on, Kerry.
Yeah, Kerry, get with the program, Kerry.
I'll read our Indigenous rights first.
Okay.
First of all, me and JP and myself, we spend most evenings up here and we give information to tourists. I've made my own map. I've drawn my own map, which I give out free to people, all of the local information map of Tara. And it's a better one here.
And I would love for you to talk to everybody a little bit about some of the details on this map that normally the tourists are not aware of. They're not in the books. You know, for example, these wells that you have found all over the Mound of Tara.
A lot of my information is local knowledge. Sean Gilmartin is our historian, and he's done 30 years research, and a lot of the information I got was from him. And I also got an old book, McAllister's book of Tara, a Pagan Paradise, which is over 100 years old, and various other census maps. And I've collected a lot of information and drawn a map of my own, which I give out free to people. And also we give them information, and also we tell them exactly what's going on in the world or in the country.
Good.
And we've had a campaign by a local councillor to have us moved, and we had an army of Gardaí came up
with machine guns.
Well, they didn't put the machine guns. They came up and they parked all the cars below, and they marched up on us and they said,
"On 3 of us,
you have on 3 of us, me and JP,
machine guns."
Yeah, and well, I'm not sure if the
2 of them. Each group of guards had 2 machine gunners with them.
I didn't see that, but
yeah, I did.
They probably had to do this anyway. So they said,
they have to protect themselves.
You have to move. And I said, why? And he said, you've got 1 minute left to move. And I said, but I'm waiting for somebody. Can you give me 5 minutes? No, if you don't move within 1 minute, we're seizing your camper and we're arresting you. So naturally, I moved. And JP also was given the same ultimatum. And so we moved, but we came back up again. And they served us a piece of paper under the Housing and Miscellaneous Act that we were on land which was the property of Meath County Council, and we were stopping them from making proper use as they seemed fit of the land, which was ridiculous. It was a public car park.
Exactly.
So we had our solicitors check it out, and it was ridiculous. So we ignored it. So a few weeks later, they came back again with a similar notice and handed to us, which was not what the paper was written on. So we just laughed at it.
So our legal team looked into it. Yeah.
And said, this is
Right
ridiculous.
on.
This is a public car park. And if it comes to it, you can go to that court and say, few people can swear that this has always been a public car park, and it's not a private land, and you can't use the Housing and Miscellaneous Act for this. So, okay, then a few more weeks went by, and the next thing, a sergeant and one guard came up, drove up, parked right beside my camper and hopped in. Okay, license, tax, insurance, CVRT, everything, we got to see everything. And I said, I have them on the window. He said, I'm not accepting that. I want them produced in the barracks within 10 days. I said, no problem, because I had my camper is fully legal, because I make naturally.
So we have to be more legal than the average Irish person.
We have to be, because
they love us.
We're expecting that.
Right,
So I went into Trim Garda Station and produced everything, and that's a year ago, and we're still here every single day. And when I make tea, I give out cups of tea to people, maybe old people or people that might need a cup of tea, and I have them chat information over tea, and we have a nice bit of fun chatting to people.
Sure.
And we're here every day, and we tell them exactly what's going on in the world too, with politicians, the real story.
It's outstanding. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
what
well,
you guys are doing.
read the Indigenous thing there
But
for them.
after it's been moved, we did some research, and we found the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, and we classify ourselves as Indigenous people, and we have a right to be here. And I have this information. If they bring me to court, I will read this out, and they will have red faces. Article 12: Indigenous people have the right to manifest, practice, develop and teach their spiritual and religious traditions, customs and ceremonies, the right to maintain, protect and have access in privacy to their religious and cultural sites, the right to the use and control of their ceremonial objects, and the right to the repatriation of their human remains. That's Article 12. States shall seek to enable the access and or repatriation of ceremonial objects and human remains in their possessions through fair, transparent and effective mechanisms developed in conjunction with the Indigenous people concerned. This is United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and this is our defence, which we haven't had to show. Yes, sorry.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So back to my poem. I think
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm reading.
Yeah. So we wrote a poem in the very beginning. What I do is I go to a site, sit down, and the poem just comes to me, and just as I come in my head, I write it down. And there's three goddesses called Fowla, Banba, and Aru, and I wrote this poem. I call it The Visit of the Goddess Aru, and we were told first of all that this motorway was going from Cavan to Dublin, and it was about money, and speculators had money, and the people stood to gain money out of it through buying land in various other ways. We don't know the whole ins and outs of it all yet. So I wrote this poem straight away. I sat down at Ratloo and wrote this poem. So now we're being told that speculators' gold brings this road by Ratloo's ancient rat, and they did not care what was lying there, 38 sacred sites in its path. In a stone-lined bed, a man lay dead. Now moved, it's an awful crime. They should have let him stay in the ground where he lay, at peace since the dawn of time. More relics of our past are on the cold clay cast, now exposed to the wind and the rain, and thrown in a bin, and the hole filled in are the stones of the Rosetown souterrain. On a snow-white mare, she had platinum hair, and she rode her fine horse past Ratloo. And sobbing she cried, and from jet-black eyes fell tears from the goddess Aru. Do you not understand? This is sacred land, and you destroy it at your peril. And in a misty smoke, thus she spoke, this green-cloaked, fair-skinned girl said, Now I must go, but young blood may flow because of this ghastly deed. And this ground may be wet in a valley of death at Legere River Valley in Meath. We had a prophecy from a lady that because of the road going through this site, that in time a lot of people would be killed on this roadway in the valley. So I tried to get that into my poem. So I wrote another one. JP told
Beautiful, but before you go on, I actually spoke with another woman from Ireland. This is probably a couple of years ago. And she mentioned that because of the intense clash between the Irish, the activists such as yourself trying to prevent this from going on, she said that there was supposedly a curse that had been told to the government that if they went ahead with this, that something really terrible was going to happen. She was explaining to me some of the things that happened. Can you share that?
Yeah, well,
that
2 days after the bulldozed Collierstown, where the Nafina warriors were, the country went broke. 2 days.
Wow.
It was announced broke.
The curse of Tara was, if a king or a governing body does anything on Tara, against Tara, they will lose their power. A king will lose his power, and Fianna Fáil were the government in power, and they were set to rule for who knows how long. They were so long in, and an election came up shortly
from 1927 on.
And they were so
dictatorship.
They were so well set in, and so, well, some people would say so corrupt that they could stay there forever.
Right.
And when this happened, an election came, and they were kicked out. And we look at this as being the curse of Tara.
They went from a big party with a majority to a small party.
In 2 days?
No, at the next election. But the country was broken 2 days.
The country went.
But then the people of Ireland were not standing up. When the country went broke, the government paid the debtors with the people's money.
Oh,
so
man.
Now the people of Ireland has all this debt on their backs because they didn't stand up to the government. They didn't stand to protect Tara.
This is where we're at across the world.
It is.
Is getting off our knees and realizing we are the ones with the power, not the government.
Yeah, well, you see, that's a thing. Maybe you have a bigger problem in America because it's all these big corporations that's putting up the money to fight the elections. They don't give a shit about the average little guy that's trying to raise a family or do his best for his kin. But the same happened here.
And before you share the other poem, she was mentioning also that there were 5 absolute freak accidents. Are you familiar with what she was talking about?
One of the accidents was there was a fog came one morning just in the one spot, and he got out of his car and he was killed stone dead. This is where this woman that foretold this, her 2 aunts was a milkmaid here on the hill.
Uh-huh.
And she came here and she says, "Do you know who I am?" So I think
very powerful
I do.
Women.
And she told this. But then another day there was a guy driving along and these 2 big pillars of light came up out of the ground and he nearly crashed. But there was a whole lot of freak accidents that happened.
Really bizarre stuff.
The tree fell on the man's head.
Yeah, I heard about that one. The tree falling on the man's head, and there was some other bizarre thing.
Oh, the politician that signed for the contract.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, he's was on all 4. Couldn't walk.
My God.
He was going around like a pig on all 4.
Oh my God. So these are truly kind of ancient magic curses or spells or something for messing with their land. Now, does this have to do with also plowing through the fairy rings?
Yeah.
Same sacred site.
It's the same
ley
sacred
line?
site. It's the same the whole lot. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But you see, we were a very powerful. If you look at all the saints and everything that brought Christianity and or whatever pagan to Europe, they were all from here, from Ireland, and how we could become an island of saints and scholars, that's what they say, to an island of what we would call them whores and gangsters. Now, you might have a different word for a whore, but that means covers about 40 different types of whores in Ireland. And we have a government, and the whole 40 of the whores are above in that government.
I love it. Okay, Kerry, go ahead.
So,
Share us.
I have another poem here I wrote this in, I went over and sat down in Ratloo. Ratloo was an ancient fort. It's got a ceremonial and a defensive mound in it, and they dug away the whole side of this fort, and they discovered a lot of bones and stuff they discovered as well, and it was a burial ground and very important place. And I sat down in Ratloo and I wrote this, and I wrote it as also in my mind I was thinking of destroying the past for what kind of a future, you know. And this past should have been preserved because it's everybody's past, the old rats and the old warriors, and it was a desecration to do it. And so
Absolutely.
I just sat down, and I could say I sit down on the spot and a poem comes into my head, and I saw this. I just call it The Warrior, and it's just like a vision. And also I just tell about, you know, where are we going with all this progress, you know. So I call it The Warrior. With a gold shield and a spear did this warrior appear, and he shouted aloud, all beware, destroy this wood henge, and we'll wreak our revenge on what you breathe in this chilly fresh air. A cloud from the sky will make you wither and die, when for these foul deeds you'll all pay the toll. Ye disturbed sacred sods, and ye angered your gods, who'll to a fiery hell send your soul. And for all your great greed, ye once great people of Mead, will be slaves and hungry and broke. I wrote this in 2007. Ye thought ye did well, when your souls ye did sell, for fine gold on which you'll all soon choke. For so low will you lay, as your new masters you'll pay, as you run yourselves deeper in debt, but you'll make things a lot worse by invoking our curse, by desecrating this valley of death. This evil cloud of doom, shaped like a mushroom, will pollute your clear blue sky, and those who survive, those few left alive, will call up in a ball and soon die. So this fine human race, with rockets in space, it ain't all progress, know what I mean. When by progress you go, it ain't right, you know, to our Gower River Valley in screen.
Wow.
And I wrote a second one, which I call a royal curse.
It's called, say that again?
I call this a royal curse.
A royal court.
Curse.
Course.
Because
Curse.
C-U-R-S-E, curse.
Oh, curse.
Because this is the curse of Tara again, and I also wrote this about a god. I wrote it originally about a goddess, but a lady told me, I can't even think of her name, said goddesses don't damn people, so it changed it a little bit to an ancient queen. So I called it a royal curse. In a rage she stood there, she had red fiery hair, and a cloak of emerald green. With an icy cold lair and a bewildering stare, thus spoke Tara Hill's ancient queen. You will soon rue the day, and for it you'll pay, as that you violated my sacred mound. So what could be worse than a royal black curse? Then she knelt on Ratloo's ancient ground, mossy ground. In the air was a chill, then the rat it did fill with the rays of the rising sun. As she basked in its glow, she said, I'll soon bring snow, and damn ye to hell with its chill. With a black curse so old, warm weather will turn cold, and freeze with its icy breath every living creature there that ever breathed the air, and chill them to a cold freezing death. Under a blanket of snow, my Gowra won't flow in nuclear winter's icy tomb. So much for progress, when ye all will regress, than when you wielded stone axes, and you savagely howled at the moon.
Wow.
Albert Einstein once said a future world war will be fought with Stone Age weapons, because people will regress back. That was in my mind writing that poem.
It's actually very true, too.
Yeah, but like the first winter here
Thank you, Kerry.
of the protest, you had young kids lived under a tree for a whole winter with very little food, hadn't a shoe on their foot, wet all the time, and they were under a tree outside for a whole winter.
And lit a vigil fire.
And they lit a fire, and that went on to be a visual fire, kept lit all the time, bits of it went all over the world. And like they were only kids, children, and they don't know themselves what drove them on to do it, And then we were working, so I come from a group called Accompanying Gael, that's Friends of the Irish, and we fight the government on all things. And so we started our team, and they're not teenagers now, but they were in the background getting on to government ministers, seeing people and everything. They weren't just here on the hill protesting, and they were doing all this other work.
Interesting.
And it upset a lot of people, you know. And to think that our government could do that, it broke my heart. I had a kind of nervous breakdown with stress and pressure, like, you know. And
well,
it hurt us.
That's what exudes out of you, is that fire and that wisdom to try to make a change.
Yeah, but then Tara, you see, when you look at Tara, 15 mile away from here, there was a hill that I owned at the hill. And that's where the early warning system was for Ireland. They could send a message round Ireland up to 4,000 years ago from that hill in 7 minutes. In the 60s here, you'd have to wait 2 days to make a phone call. You'd have to book it.
Sure.
And then the trading hills. You see, the kings, if you came here as a king or a chieftain, you'd have to leave your army out there on that hill.
Ah.
So the king might send out one of his children.
Interesting.
To stay there, so the king could come in here and be protected when he'd arrive here. And all the big trading went on here, over on that hill. There was 3 hills.
So it's like a neutral place.
Yeah, okay. And there was 3 hills, and the middle hill was the trading hill. And they traded there, they traded their cattle, their goats, their everything. And then they'd be planning for the big, we had a thing here called the Tulchin Games. They came from all over the world to it, in a place called Telltown.
Telltown.
The queen was, what was her name, Kerry? Tulchin?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but that's where you got handfasted. So you'd come with your tribe to Telltown, take part, and if you'd done anything wrong, your head was cut off straight away. But you'd meet a woman there, and you'd talk to her, chat her up, a young one, and she'd go with your tribe back with them for a year, and you'd be handfasted. Now, if she was very young, she wouldn't be allowed to sleep with the young fella until she had her first period.
Sure.
Or whatever at the time. And
puberty,
yeah. And then if they weren't happy, when they come back to the next Tulchin Games, they could walk up the top of the hill, let go of their hands and walk down and separate it. But if she had a little bulge, or a baby at foot, a foal at foot, they'd say here, a baby, you'd have to give her cattle and sheep and gold. So I'd be coming up, walking along. I mightn't have a pot to pee in, I'd be that poor.
Okay.
And I'd see this one with cattle and sheep. I didn't mind it. Saved me a job, maybe a baby or 2.
Sure.
So I'd marry her, and she'd come off with me then. So now I'd be a rich man.
That's crazy. Now, what era are we talking about? What epoch?
3,500 to 4,000 years ago.
Okay.
And that was the forerunner of the Greek games. The torch, the fire, the whole lot is the very same. The Olympic Games all started in this place called Telltown.
Wow. Spell it.
Kerry, he's educated on
Telltown.
Telltown.
Okay.
And there's a lot of mounds, and some of them were destroyed and everything.
Oh, Telltown. Just like it sounds.
Telltown, yeah.
Okay.
And the funny thing about it is the river that goes by it is shaped a bit like the Boyne, and the mounds and everything is. There's a lot of mounds there. It was the place where they congregated big time.
In fact, I read about the river. Well, in the United States, we would have pronounced it Boyne.
Boyne,
B-O-Y-N-E.
Yeah, that means bowl.
I thought it meant bend.
No, bowl.
Oh, it means bowl, isn't it?
Bowl. A Boyne is bowl. Okay. Bovine, cow, holy cow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my. So going back to one of the comments you made to me even earlier before the interview, and that was about the High Kings.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that? You know, who were they and where did they come from?
Well, you see, the first High Kings might be here for maybe 2 or 3 years. The very first ones. And some other guy would come and knock him off the hill, and another guy would take over.
Okay.
And that went on for years. And chieftains. And then there'd be younger kings, and they'd be looking for support. That's in Ishnock, the sister hill for here. It's a Beltane site.
Okay.
And the Druids congregated. There was a palace there and a lot of energy. Big energy line over here goes into Ishnock. And we were down there last week at the Beltane festival in it. And it was So a king there, there'd be Inishnak would be next in line for here. So he'd be looking for support from the other kings and chieftains to get him to here. So it'd be by how many cattle and sheep and gold that give him that make him strong enough to be able to take the hill here. But I wouldn't know their names, but our big guy was here, I think he was about, would it be 14 or 1500 years ago, Cormac MacArt.
Okay.
And Cormac MacArt, to war the women on site, they had to grind the corn, the women. So he got the first water mill for grinding corn. And this was amazing.
Back then, of
Yeah,
course, yeah.
and then his brother was King of Scotland. But Cormac MacArt changed a lot of things. He seemed to be a very wise man.
But
if Sean was here, he'd tell you things that put the hair standing on your head. Because a lot of the things they talk about on the hill here, they're talked about in a way of very open-minded, sexual, so people would remember them. So, you know, what they'd done at different times, the different kings done this and that and the other. But I think that, I don't know which king married Tiva, the daughter.
How far back does she go?
She's way back, I don't know.
Like at least 5,000-6,000 years ago?
No. She's about 3, I think.
3,000 years ago.
I'm not sure. But you see, there was a circle up on top of the hill here, one big circle, and they dug down in the rock and they cut a whole forest to make the circle.
Wow.
But then about 2,000 years later, they moved over where they are now, but the mound was still in the first circle, and it was in the second circle now, and it was huge. Why they moved, I don't know.
They found it by ladder.
Yeah, but then...
Excellent.
Really?
Yeah. You see, all here, there was a discovery program done from outer space. And Joe Fenwick and Conor Newman done it. And that's where they found all the sites down along the road. This is why they're saying, we found this. Bullshit. They already had X-rayed it down from outer space.
Sure.
And that was in the 70s.
Yeah.
So they knew this stuff was there.
Correct.
So that's what boggles our mind.
They have the total capacity to see what's underground anyway, with the technology that they had available.
So now it has been all X-rayed.
Yeah.
They had jeeps here going up and down all the land here. Every bit of it has been X-rayed.
So now this ley line, where does it go from the land of Ireland? Does it go all the way down to the Vatican?
No, well...
Curious.
There's ley lines that goes across England and into France.
Into France, okay.
Yeah, and then I think there's one of them goes to South Africa, Table Mountain or something.
Okay.
And there's funny things, and there was another guy here, and we do get spirits, and we go and collect them, and we put them into the hill. Now, the spirits that can go to correct things in the world, and we have to get my passport, I haven't too far to go to get them. But about 23 miles away from here, Lawrence of Arabia, the Lawrence of Arabia, was born. And there's a mound here and a mound there, and there's a big house in between the two mounds on an energy line, and that's where he was born.
Oh my.
And they say he had supernatural things about him. And when the British executed him, assassinated him, the Duke of Wellington, the statue was in the town down there, he came from here, the Duke of Wellington, just down the road.
Arthur Wellesley.
Arthur Wellesley. And he was Prime Minister of England and all that bullshit. But his family buried Lawrence in their private graveyard in Dorset in England.
Oh my God.
On an energy line. And we're going over to collect him and take a spirit back here. And we'll do something here that the spirit can go maybe to try and stop the trouble in Palestine and the Middle East. So we're going to collect them now very shortly. We have some famous people. They're not, one time spirits that come in here were warriors and that, but he's crying out to come here. So he can leave then as a spirit to do his work. Now the spirits that come here and they never leave the hill, we do collect them and put them into the hill. There are famous musicians and that. instead of get away from the fighting people, you know. That was
well, and also, JP, they're being used. Their energy signature is being used by the dark to do some really nasty stuff. I mean, that's one of the main reasons that they keep some of the more powerful figures, if you want to call it that, on the ley lines, because they can manipulate the energies.
We done a thing here. A guy from Scotland called Graham came here, and he don't eat his own food, and he ate our wooden bowls and all that. And he lost his voice at one stage before he came here, and we drew up maps here, and we planted crystals all over the hill. We went down into the valley,
right on,
and we tied it all in with thousands and thousands, little beady crystals to huge big ones, and then we joined them all in a figure 8. And it wasn't getting out about the trouble here, and in 3 weeks it was all over the world about the motorway here.
Interesting. Yeah, because even I've heard about it just from an email.
Yeah, but it was blocked. They had the energy of the hill blocked. Whoever blocked the energy, but they had it all blocked.
Yes. Oh my. Sorry, everybody. We've got a trash van driving by. We're actually doing this on site right outside the Hill of Tara. And so it didn't smell so good either. So, Kerry, the one thing I did want to ask you is, you know, when I was looking at this map yesterday, in fact, I was reading it last night, I was amazed that you had even done so much detailed work on the chakras. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, of the Hill of Tara?
Well, the chakras are, actually, they're not documented on any map, only mine.
That's okay.
And Sean and Martin actually drew my attention to them. Sean has been doing research for 30 years, and the chakra mounds are situated between the two sloping trenches and west of Rathgrania. Chakra mounds have energy. There's 3 ley lines. There's ley lines going through the chakra mounds. There's the head, centre, and base, and the ley lines are running on the head chakra. The ley lines are running from southwest to northeast. On the centre chakra mound, the ley line is running from east to west, and on the base chakra, the ley line is running from southeast to northwest. And how they could move these energy, have these energy lines so precise, I don't know. We doused them and found them like this. And I presume these mounds were used for healing, because the same as people use Reiki energy to do healing now, I do believe that ground energy and ley line energy can do healing. And I've heard a story of a man who stood on a node of energy, and he had a brain tumour which couldn't be cured. And Shano told me this, a friend of mine, and he said he stood for, every day he stood for a length of time on this node of energy where 2 energy lines meet, and he cured his cancer. Now, I don't know whether that's documentary or not, but it's a story. But I would believe that, because I think the same way as Reiki energy heals people, which I've got cured by Reiki energy myself.
Sure.
By a girl called Sandra Nelson, an amazing healer. And so I do believe that these ley lines are very important. And there's a node of energy. There's one at the temple, the old temple, which they've only found it recently with the slider. It's dug 12 feet into the rock, and where the rock was being removed, clay fell in, and so it's still marked there. And this runs around the old temple, which is beside the old church. The Rat of the Synods was built on top of this temple. The centre of this temple has very, very strong power, which comes from the southwest, from a place called Ringlestown Rat, which is only called Ringlestown Rat, but it's a very, very powerful place. And that energy comes right up to the temple, and that's crossed by the energy that comes up the centre of the banquet. They call this place the banquet hall, but the banquet hall was a roadway that came up to the temple, and at the one end of the banquet hall, one of the old roads of Tara, the Slieve went by. So this was a roadway, which later on people called it a banquet hall, but the names on the hill do not have the correct names.
Yeah, because it had the wrath of, it's SYNOD.
Yeah,
the idea is when you kneel down
pagan sites
in the banqueting hall and you kneel on the ground, you're looking up, you can see nothing, only the Rat of the Synods. You're going up into the heavens if you kneel down in it, you know.
Yes.
And you see, a lot of people, we'd have to show you the energy. Maybe we'll go for a walk later and we'll show you energy.
The energy line, JP does healing on it. There's 2 stones, a block and blukna. And on one of the stones, JP does healing. JP puts somebody sitting and he moves energy and does very amazing healing on people. And last week I had a lady from Devon who lives in Wales now, who was very good at dowsing. We were sitting having a chat, and after about an hour she said, actually my whole thing is dowsing. And she had her dowsing rods with her very old dowsing rods. And I said, well, you've come to the right place. I brought her up. And where the healing energy, where the energy spot is, where JP does his healing, it's actually, it's part of the temple, but it's inside in the graveyard now. She found a rectangle of energy and she found a diamond shape of energy together. And she said this is the most powerful place she's ever found. She's been dowsing all her life. And then she found one energy line that went straight out from the stone called block. It went straight out, which we didn't know about. And that's the spot where JP stands on doing his energy healing. So that was pure, that's the first time I've ever seen this energy line, anyone shown it to me. But the main energy line goes right through the centre of the temple, continues on by Block and Blukna, and it goes, the church built, the altar of the church is built on the energy line.
See,
and all the churches are.
I know.
Yeah, but if you want to find out something here, the Protestant religion, you see, at the referendum, kicked all the Catholics out of the old churches. So if you really want to find out places, go to an old Protestant church.
An old Protestant
because
church.
there would have been Catholic churches before they were kicked out.
And they were built on pagan sites.
And the centre of the altar is spang on top of an energy line.
Yes.
And they do very big crystals, maybe 3 or 4 foot high, each side. And if you were ever at a Catholic ceremony, they do benediction.
Yes.
And they hold up this thing like a sun.
Yes.
And that is the Son of God you're looking at. Don't get it wrong. You're looking at the Son of God when you look at that. And this gives the priests, the people who were looking up, and they could feel this energy coming. That's why people were afraid of the priest.
You can see an aura of the priest.
An aura of the
gold
priest,
picks up the energy. Gold and the precious gems on this on the chalice, and also on this whenever they lift up the golden piece, and they pick up the energy, and then the priest has this aura of them, which makes, which is using very old energy.
Yes.
And it's like I said, they
but they deny all that.
Well,
of course. Well, if you really research the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church, the current Catholics, I think, would be absolutely blown away at how paganistic they were in their very beginning roots.
Yes,
that's
true.
Yes.
All the things are pagan, and what they've done in Ireland is all our holy wells, or pagan wells, they just they Christianized them, and they put the Christian names on them.
The one down here?
As well, the whole lot down here.
They call it Patrick's Well now. It was the Well of the White Cow. We still call it the Well of the White Cow. Because that's the original name.
But there's a strange thing about here. On the other side of the hill, there's the Calf Well. The Calf Well flows into a river over that side.
Okay.
The Cow Well here flows into the Gower. And now the River Nit is from a well down further afield. That's what makes the Gower, the Nemnock. That's it's the river, the
Nit River.
Yeah, the Nit River, and that makes it sacred, the Gower. But this river flows into it, and the two meet a couple of 100 yards before they go into the Bine. And it's the calf that never sucked its mother until they both met and sucked off their mother.
The calf well flows.
The two flow like that, join up, and then they flow into the river Bine.
Very
the calf well flows into the river Skane. The Gowra, or the Nit, the river Nit from the Nemnock well and the Well of the White Cow flow into the river Gowra. And the river Gowra and the Skane meet just about a half mile from the Boyne. They meet together right down, just about a half mile or quarter mile from the Boyne, and they flow in together, and both of them flow into the river Boyne.
So one time they dug and interfered with the calf well. And the day that they were digging and interfered with it, the side fell out of the cow well.
Whoa.
And one is that side of the hill, and nothing to do with it, and the other is this side of the hill.
Shows how interfacing they are.
Yeah.
I just didn't have a clue that there were this many wells on the hill of Taro. Now, is it is there an actual water flow? I mean, is it?
Should we drink the water?
I would
That's where we get all our water.
I would love to go get to.
Not so much. There's a water flow from the calf well. That's JP's phone.
That's his cell phone, everyone. Good old Irish
Sorry.
music.
No, that's okay.
I just have to tell this guy.
That's okay.
That you're in the middle of an interview.
So you're saying, Kerry, that the actual top of the hill of Tara was a temple?
The
There was an
actual
actual
top, the
temple.
highest point of the hill of Tara was a temple.
Hello.
And if you stood in the
I'm
centre
doing
of
an
that temple,
interview. What's up?
if you stood in,
Yes, I'm doing it. I'm in the middle of it.
To have a conversation.
I warned him not to ring me.
Was that Sean?
Sean?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm waiting to see this guy's name.
Oh.
He lived in America for
we call it the
years.
CIA because he's always asking questions.
He knows everyone in New York.
Oh gosh.
Well, I think he does. So we were asking for the centre of the temple. From the centre, it's the only place on Tara that you can see the whole way the whole way around Tara.
Okay, I noticed that.
Yeah, apart from the church being in the way.
So
and a
this
few
is the
trees.
highest point
The highest
in
point,
Ireland?
and it would have been the oldest place in
Oh, I
Ireland.
know it's not the highest
not the
point.
highest
Oh,
point.
Jesus, now we have mountains here.
No,
One
not the
area
highest
here.
point in Meath now, but the highest point on Tara.
Okay, got it.
And we have the wells, like I said, research these wells, and the calf well is actually not on ground. The ground is not owned by Tara, it's on private ground. It was in the Fodian field, which was nobody owned, and I think a local farmer just knocked down a ditch and claimed it.
And he claimed it. He hasn't set foot on his farm that he owns from his father died. Barely.
Wow.
And he has sold off a lot of it.
Wow.
And this is where the two little old milk ladies, the
Yeah.
witches,
They worked for his father.
And the one that came and told us what had happened down the road, it'd be a niece of these two little women. They were only about that height. Two little small women.
They were named
And-
Sherry's.
Yeah, and everyone said they were witches.
Interesting.
But they were weird.
Oh, they put curses on people.
A guy done something and he killed their goats. Their goats were milking.
Shot one of the goats.
And shot a goat on them. He broke into his corn. His whole enterprise melted.
Oh, that's
With the hadn't a
terrible.
big teeth.
She
That's
lived in the
terrible.
Black Friary in Trim. I knew her.
Are they no
really
longer
nice lady.
around?
No, they're dead now. But the niece lives in England.
Yeah.
People used to be afraid to look and you'd wave at them going by, you know?
I don't want to make them mad.
Yeah, and you see these little things.
But
looking
you
out
don't
at
you think they're little fairy people?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's what they are.
But it's funny the way the two of them came to work. They'd be from about 15 mile away, but they came to work on the hill as milkmaidens.
I knew one of them
See,
personally.
farmers used to have milkmaidens.
Mm-hmm.
They milked the cows and that by hand,
Yes.
100 years ago, you know.
He said he knew one of them personally.
Oh, I knew them
And
as
she
well.
said, myself and my sister, we worked very like slaves for a man up in Tara Hill, Pat Donnelly. And that wouldn't be very far from here, just a farm on the far side of the hill. And she's a really nice lady, you know. I worked in a building side beside her and she used to make me tea every day and look in for a chat. And I thought she was a really lovely lady.
And she boiled the tea.
She boiled the tea for...
A mouse could trot across the top of it.
She boiled the tea for 10 minutes and tested it with a spoon every few minutes. No, it's not ready yet. And it was like tar. And she,
It was
Oh my God, it was like tar.
yeah, and it was just, and it wasn't ready. No, it's not ready yet. Keep boiling it.
So
Talk to her for 10 minutes, you know.
Kerry, talk to me a little bit about the trenches. What was the purpose of the trenches?
The sloping
The
trenches.
sloping trenches, one of them was, there was a story if a king gave a wrong judgment. When the king gave a wrong judgment, one of them collapsed. But there's a lot of stories about them.
Yeah, it was about sheep.
JP will tell you this.
And the king came along and he was sitting and there was this guy up in front of him and he says he wanted the sheep because they ate his grass. And the king looked and he thought it not fair. So he turned round and the trenches slipped away, so they had another conflab. And he gave the wool off the sheep to the man for eating his grass.
Because
and
the grass will grow again and the wool will
grow again.
Got
But then beside there you have got Rathgrania. Rathgrania is where the temple was for the college for students.
Right here? Okay.
Yeah, and there was princesses and their staff from all over the world there. And the hill was overthrown at one stage, and they were all executed.
The King of Leinster came up and
overthrew
to fight King Cormac. King Cormac was away with his soldiers, and they came and killed all the women and children.
Oh my God.
And this happened
And
down
his staff.
Horrible.
and staff.
And they're buried in one of the trenches. This one here, they're buried in.
We saw Teach
And,
Cormac.
out here
Chuck
in the field.
Chuck Cormac. Well, actually,
Out here in the field, there was another place, and they were buried there. And a guy came here, a lunatic, on pennels. He went up to the forest and he got green, heavy timber, and he dragged them until his shoulders were bleeding up and built a temple right on top of where they were buried. And he never knew they were buried there. I was laughing when I seen him building it. But he'd done all this for pennels for his past life.
a chap called Niall. He was an amazing character.
Drug business and whatever, and
Penance, right?
yeah. And
Interesting. The Rata on Rai? Is that how you guys? No, you say Rata.
Ratnaree. That was a wall. That was a circular wall that enclosed this whole area.
Okay.
And lived among the hostages. King Lear's fort is King Lear. I think it was King Lear. King Lear was always fighting with the King of Leinster.
Yeah.
And the King Lear, when King Lear was told that he was foretold that he'd be killed between Erin and Alba, so he presumed that was between Ireland and Scotland. So he never went on the sea. So he was going down through Wicklow one day between two peaks called Erin and Alba, and he was struck by lightning and killed. So his wish was to be buried standing up with all his armour on him. He's buried inside this mound here, standing up with all his armour, and he's facing the King of Leinster. Shortly afterwards, the King of Leinster died, and the King of Leinster, he is buried in full armour, facing the King.
He's in Moon as well.
Yeah.
He's in Moon.
So
the King of Leinster.
we have two kings in death, fully armoured and facing each other, and I told.
And they're both standing up.
Both standing up. That we Irish never know when to give up a fight.
And now here,
That's so true, isn't it?
here, if you look here, from here on over to the hollow in the hip field just there, this is the spirit world. This is where the spirits are put in, and there's two horsemen here mounted with armour,
with leather armour
protecting the spirits.
They're
That's the
guardians
spirit
of the
world.
hill. We've been told this by clairvoyant.
Yeah.
And the fairy tree. What's the significance of the fairy
tree? Well, the fairy tree is on the energy line.
Okay.
And it just grew down there. And there was a new fairy tree, but it got mowed. The farmer mowed it. I seen it sprouting up, and I should have put sticks around it. It was a new one, because the old fairy tree is getting very old now at this stage. But there's a lot of energy down there at it. They do lie out in the summertime beside it, you know.
And generally, a fairy tree, a lone tree is very, very important. Sometimes
in farmers' land here, if the farmer has a lone bush, a hawthorn that's in bloom now, that white bloom, in the middle of his field, he'll plough around it, he won't touch it.
Because it marks a significant spot of somebody.
Oh yeah, they will not touch it.
Somebody
and
very
it's
important.
the white bloom of...
the hawthorn.
Hawthorn.
Okay.
Which is very good for the heart.
Yeah, they will not cut it. And there was a fella, I know him well, and his brother came from America on holidays, and he went down and he cut up all the timber at a mound in their land. For 7 years, every cow and tail they had died.
So we just had Mr. Sean come in, who is so mysterious and refuses to have anything to do with an interview, and he's the historian, the local historian that these gentlemen have been referring to over and over and over and over again. Now, you were also part of the whole protest, right? He doesn't want to talk. Okay.
That's okay.
So we'll go back with JP. JP's giving me this look.
This lady has asked me questions here about how many kings. You might be able to answer this. How many kings was here? Who was married to who? What period did Tiva come in? And different things like that. Simple questions.
Well, I mean, and I think one of the questions that Laura and I have always had, because of reading all this, all the monuments lately, is when they say the high kings, what are they actually stipulating when they say the High Kings?
That's one for you, Sean.
I'll answer a couple of questions, right? The High King, in actual fact, was a more ceremonial thing.
Ceremonial.
In the sense what they call it, that all different clans or the leaders of clans wanted to be High King. Because of that, people around them that might have been ahead of them to be the High King. Remember, the son just wasn't the High King's follower or the next person in line. It was 4 generations, and people from 4 generations could actually become king after a High King died. So they were killing each other time and time again to go up the line. Great fun. A real Christian country.
I was going to say, so it has nothing to do with elected of a certain bloodline, or
Oh, well, the bloodline could be 4 generations of bloodline.
okay.
It wasn't
but
just
once it's
son
4
after.
generations, they can no longer be king.
Yeah, because we're eased out. I don't know the actual ins and outs of the genealogy, but that's what it was. And they were fiercely competitive, so they wanted to be High King. So that meant they had to kill everybody around them to get to be High King.
That's
Wow.
crazy. Now
So-
tell us the background on the. Now I'm not going to say it properly, guys, so don't get upset. The Tuatha De Danann.
Two of they done.
See, I can never say it the way you guys say it, but
What about them?
well, how are they? Is there a relationship between they and what's called the little people?
Do I laugh first or afterwards?
I don't know. I'm just
Oh,
sharing some of the information.
The underworld. Who went into the underworld?
Well, the two they done were the so-called gods of this country, but their peculiarity, they're not gods in the normal sense. They could be killed.
Okay.
Or normally if they were killed, they were into the idea of energy. Whatever they were buried or killed, the energy would locked into that part of
Okay.
the landscape. Over here on the far side of the tower, we got a thing called the sloping trenches, right?
Right.
On the southern sloping trenches, 3,030 women were killed. 241 AD by King of Leinster. Leinster is another territory down below us here, right?
Okay.
Now, do we take that as factual or do we take it as symbolic? Most people would take it as factual. But in actual fact, it could well be symbolic
That's
about
really
some
good
sort of
point.
energy or astronomy or something else.
Sure.
Understand that our people, and it's also regarded, in other countries in the world, it's not just us. They're very sophisticated in using and encoding information. In Australia, it's the dream time.
Yeah.
They have all these lines in Australia, right, that they have members from different clans or groups go down them and tone or sing, right, to activate them and keep them operated. So we don't understand that normally, that energy works in that way on Earth, but they did. And they're what, about 10,000 BC they're from, the Aboriginals.
That's really actually become a way of life amongst the healing community. A large part of my audience, by the way, JP, are healers, okay, and psychics. And the sound and the vibration are very much a part of the healing process.
New-grained resonates at 110 hertz. Bass. Or slightly above bass, right?
Okay.
Because I said that's a woman with the grain resonates at 110 hertz. Only men can do that. Oh, she says, oh, yes.
Right.
She resonated at the same frequency all the way along for about half an hour.
Right.
Tell this lady about when you were in the mound in Ishnach. What happened in the mound when you went down into the souterrain?
Oh, yeah, there's a souterrain down there, but it's blocked now. You can't get into it. The souterrain is supposedly where local people would keep stuff or food or whatever. It's good for damn stuff abroad. I reckon the souterrains were for something else altogether, right? Years and years ago, I went down with 3 or 4 other people. And there was a block then. You go down, you turn a corner, it's probably about 50 meters long, right? Then we started for a crack, just chanting and toning. Pitch dark. The place lit up like you put on a spotlight. But it only lasted for about a second or two. We couldn't redo the exact tone that lit it.
Yes.
Wow.
And I reckon a lot of sacred places that we know of now, like Rathcrogan where Maeve is associated, the goddess Maeve and the rest, right? Goddess now is a wide term, do you understand me?
It is. Very much so.
I reckon what you call it, that's a lot of those places have an active type of energy that you can actually tone into. And I reckon a lot of the early Christians, even middle age Christians or the medieval type ones, like the Cistercians of the world as well, used certain types of songs and sounds and all that sort of stuff, and resonated at certain frequencies. And certainly I know what it got in this country that the Cistercians used hollows or buckets in their walls to resonate the frequency around them.
That makes sense.
And remember, the leader of the Cistercians was St. Bernard. And he was over the Knights Templar as well.
Well, and you just read my mind, so JP...
Well, if that means anything, by the way.
He's giving me this look, everybody. Just if you could only see Sean's facial expressions, it's crazy.
He does other things as well, so you've got to be careful.
Yes. As they say, he's a pain in the arse.
Totally and utterly. Totally and utterly, and I'm proud of that.
But
I'm proud of that.
The Romans came to this hill, because I had a guy here with me one
Very
day.
much so, right? Doesn't that get back to... Wait, was Boudica? Boudica was in Scotland.
No, she was English.
I thought the big war was...
Bodicians.
Is that how you guys say it?
I'm not all that
Boudica?
fay with it.
I thought it was Boudica.
But I took this guy here,
I'm not all that fay with it.
and he came here, and I knew of him. This guy, 7 generations of them dousing and seeing things. And I brought him up in the hill and said, I'm going to try this guy out. I'll see what this asshole is made of. And I was walking along, really nice man, an elderly man, and we walked along. And as we went by the mound of the hostages, I could hear all these people behind us. And I glanced back, and there was no people. And he turned around and he looked at me. He says, why are they following us? He says, they're not following me. They're afraid of you. It's the spirits following you. So we continued on walking. And he says, there's 8 Roman soldiers walking up the hill, which he was right. Then he turned, but the 2 horsemen, minding the spirits, were right. So then we're down to the chakra bumps. And he says there's a woman of high stature by the design in her clothes, and she's 2 kids standing on the middle one looking at us. Right again. This guy, so I took him over to Ratloo. And Ratloo, when you step out of one circle to another circle, it's completely different happy energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go over to another place, and he says, there's energy going right up in the sky there. We all knew this. And because I fell down the hole. I didn't fall actually down in the hole, but I was standing one night, and all of a sudden I could feel myself going down and down and down.
I've had that same experience with
But what did you do?
LA.
Kerry, what happened to you? You were the guinea pig?
We went over, we know where this energy line, it comes straight out of the ground, very, very strong. And JP brought this man over, I'm not sure what his name, from Northern Ireland. And
Murphy. Dennis Murphy.
And he showed him this energy line, and he asked me to put my hand over the energy line, and I put my hand over the energy line, and he told me just to bend it back a little bit like that. So it was coming up, I had my hand at an angle to the energy line, and he walked away a long distance, about 500 yards, maybe further. And he didn't tell me what he was going to do, and he asked JP to stand behind me. And JP stood behind me, and I was there standing. I could feel the energy right in my hand, very, very strong. It's like if there was a spout of water coming up. It was very strong energy, but couldn't see it. But,
Sure.
So I held it like that for a minute, and all of a sudden, wherever he moved the energy, suddenly it got so strong that it knocked me. And I didn't expect this, and I wouldn't believe this if someone else told me to. But he knocked me flat back, and JP was behind me to catch me. So he had a way of moving energy, and I have no clue how he could do it.
Fabulous.
And then he came to a tree, and the tree had a branch, a really solid branch coming out of it, and he told us to stand back.
There wasn't a breeze. There wasn't a breeze.
There was no wind, and he asked us to stand back and feel the energy of the tree. And we put our hands like that to feel the energy of the tree, and we stood back like this, and he walked over to one side, and then the branch started shaking like this with the leaves, and there was no wind, and it was a thick branch. And JP said, look at the branch. He didn't tell us what he was going to do. So some people have great energy, or way of moving energy that people get hard to understand. But I wouldn't believe this if someone told me, but I experienced it myself.
Before the time of the lidars and all this X-raying, he showed them where to dig in Owenmacca, in the Kells fort. And everywhere they dug, he was spot on.
He was good at dowsing.
And he had to lie low for years. He comes from Belfast, And he had to lie low during the Troubles because he was able to find bodies for them and tell them where the bodies was. So the British SAS, MI5 crowd, started saying that he had something to do with IRA when he knew this. And so in case he'd be put into internment in jail for no crime, they just locked up people, he had to lie low.
Yeah, I bet.
And Pointer, that wrote the book Pie in the Sky, a lot of the work in Pointer's book is Murphy's work.
Interesting. Oh, so he just stayed
he
incognito.
He corrected a lot of the work for Pointer and helped him out on that, but a lot of it is Murphy's work.
So, JP, would you consider yourself to be psychic?
Well, no, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. My mother had a gift. And when she died, I started, I'm a bit of a header anyway, but I started kind of seeing things and stuff like that. And
well, you're not blowing your own horn. It's like Laura and I already picked up on that.
And
it's pretty obvious.
No, I don't know. I could. Some people want me to go on to do healing. I just haven't got the golf.
He does a lot of healing. JP does a lot of healing on people.
So do we.
And,
how about you, Sean?
No.
No. Are you strictly in the
Sean
head?
Gilmartin, was I right or wrong about the henge down there?
What do you mean, right?
What I said about the henge.
He wouldn't
in the beginning, before it was dug or anything.
Oh, yeah. This is, I don't know if it's Mullen, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. This Mullen's very interesting. Well, because it's very complicated, but the rover's going across it, right? And it's an astronomical setup as well. It's Monocytes of Pleiades.
Wow.
And that's around 400, 500 BC now, because that's an academic that has wrote on that and had an astronomer as well, and he backed it up.
But I actually seen it working. I seen the people in it.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So in other words, you have different ways and different mechanisms of getting it,
sure.
right?
And they could get all angles into the water, and they could get the white sand, and they could...
Yeah, it is. It is an amazing thing.
But it has been documented, hasn't it, Sean, that they are pointing towards the people.
Oh yeah, without doubt. It's in your man's book, the archaeologist's book.
Yeah.
So you
had Pendergast do the stuff on the he's the guy, I suppose, the academic that ties into the astronomy, right?
Kevin Pendergast.
Yeah.
So all three of you sound like you've really dabbled heavily into the archaeology side of this. Not just the mythology. Well, you, Sean, I know you've been heavily researching.
Well, we have two archaeologists. We have three archaeologists. And one is a Polish chap. The other is a local guy here that just give tours. A really nice guy.
Yeah.
And
Martin Dyer. Yeah.
Martin Dyer is his name. And if we have a question, because I'm uneducated. Sean is educated and Kerry is educated. I have a problem. I'm dyslexic. I can barely write my name. But when you ask them something, they will tell you, they're friendly people. And I do hear all them many stories. I don't read all these books around the people. It's a way of life. I take it as every day, you know. But I sometimes do find bodies for people if there was somebody fell into a river.
Yeah, you have that gift. No question. Well, okay, so you dropped a bomb a couple hours ago. I think that was last night, regarding Jesus going to school. He went to the university.
Here's a guy to tell you.
Killian County Kildare.
And is that documented?
No, it's not signposted. It's only put down as a certain townland. Okay. And I think that's done deliberately. It's that way, what do you call it? When they excavated it in the 20s, I think it was, it got 7 Ohm stones. And one of them was in the museum at the moment. Now, about a year ago was, when you go in to look at one of these psalm books that were taken out of the bog and reclaimed, as it were, right? To have it in the offset of one of the big rooms in the museum, okay? But on the left side of it, there's a standing stone. It's about 8 foot high. And it's got inscriptions, as you know. Sorry, do you know anything about Ohm stones, do you?
I don't know.
Ogham stone. Ogham in Old Irish, I think, and Ohm in Modern Irish, right? Okay. They're marked with etches on the side.
Okay, right.
Right,
okay.
So they're called Ohm stones. But there was a guy called Ogma, and the ideas come from him, right?
Okay.
I won't go into that. The main thing about it is on the actual Ohm stone, if it's still there in the museum, in that particular room.
That would be a big hit.
It's got in Latin. I don't think it might be.
Okay.
It's got in capital Latin letters, right, across the face of it, 4 true Druids. And that's an actual fact. Supposedly the places that they lived, and some of them are buried there. The actual head druid at the time was Dovtach Macalugar. He was the head druid of Tara up here when St. Patrick came to the hill. And he stood up when Patrick came, so it gave honour to Patrick. So himself and Patrick got on very well together, even though he was a druid. Now the fascinating thing about it, he had 3 sons. He had 4 sons altogether, I think it was, in one version, another version 8, right? Of the 4 sons that we know of, 3 of them were saints.
Whoa.
So that's how they transmitted the information from Druidism into early Christianity. In this country. Get my drift?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, no. A million questions are flying around in my head.
It was never lost. It's there, but it's in symbolic information along different lives of different.
So this would be after the supposed crucifixion?
437. 432. Sorry, that's when he came here. Supposedly St. Patrick. He was here prior to that as a slave for six years.
Yeah, but do you remember the old rabbi that came here with the head of the IRA?
Oh, he was based in Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And what he said.
You have a lot more about mythology than I knew about mythology.
The old archives in Jerusalem. He was head of the old archives, and he told us things here that we were gobsmacked. But now in America, they found in a burial mound somewhere in America, they found red-haired white people, and they had sticks with Ogham of U carved on in a burial mound somewhere.
The U.
No,
Y-E-W.
Y.
U tree.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And he had it marked with the Ogham buried with them, because from here about, I think it's about 4,000 years ago, I'm not sure, 3,000 years ago, whatever, monks left here and went to America. Druid monks,
Yes.
not Christian monks, Druid monks went. So they must have, that's why the Indians have, like in Canada when I was there, the Indians had the very same customs as we had. Belting, the whole lot.
So it's that whole indigenous feel.
Yeah, they were jumping the horses through the fire, driving the cattle between the fires. The very same is done here.
Yeah, that's a Nishnak. Yeah.
Well, they say that basically the establishment, whatever you want to call that, whether it's the politicians, the government, the very high up, puppeteers that run all the institutions of the planet, they say that they're essentially out to bring down the indigenous people all over the world.
Yeah, that's what we think.
And I agree with that.
But then, see, the Catholic Church here and all over, I think myself that they actually practice all the old pagan beliefs and just dress them up and made them Christian and robbed them on us.
Yeah, well, look at how the ritualism of everything. The only unfortunate thing is the take this body and blood of Christ has actually been used for satanic ritual.
Yeah, but that's after the fact.
So, okay, question, because you mentioned the Templars, and this is actually...
I'm passing, so I live, a dear friend of mine lives practically on the land up in County Louth. It's all over the bloody place.
They seem to be everywhere, and they were, there's quite a bit of it up in Kells. So, do you have any idea at what point they arrived here? Was it after Prince Philip IV? Basically,
they wouldn't be alive if it was after him.
No,
or was it way before then? Because I know there's a lot of mystery.
The Templars? Start what monk or whatever.
St. Bernard was the one that actually gave them the access. The only boss they had was the Pope. From 1128, I think it was. Bernard was over some sort of a synod, and he gave them access to only one leader or one boss, and that was the Pope. Bishops, cardinals, none of them could control it. They came and went as they liked us or what they believed in. But remember, they were, from what I know, and I don't know that much about them, right? They were actually, they were supposed to be poor all their land and things went to the central area that looked after all the temples together and all that sort of stuff, right?
But did they not set up the first banks?
They did, because they were carrying, because they were going to Jerusalem and Israel, or whatever you like to call it.
Yeah, and it's misconstrued, because they were actually trying to protect travelers that were carrying gold coins, and they were getting killed and mercilessly
And that's
getting
they were
raped
given,
and
they were given
pillaged.
notations.
That was how it all started. But I've also been, just through all my research, I feel it's true that when the original 9 discovered what was buried under the temple in Jerusalem, the Temple of Solomon.
So what are you talking about? The Ark of the Covenant?
No, I think there were quite a few other relics that were found, but the one thing I believe they had a checkmate situation with the church is what I feel. I feel that there's something. It just, from all the research I've done, it just seems like there's something that they found that they were able to kind of hold the church by the balls and say, we feel that you are full of it. We have found, here's testimony as to why, look at what we found, and therefore we need your assistance in X, Y, and Z. Because they were, for a long time there, which is unheard of, they were kind of untouchable. And that's, in my opinion, of course they ended up becoming infiltrated, but I think in the very beginning they had good intention.
I think it was 13, 14 that they're all killed off, the ones that they had.
Yes.
That was in France. But,
11, 13 or something.
Another interesting thing, what they got, nothing might have been a little bit later. They
came up here after that.
I think they're here prior to that.
Do you?
I don't know the ins and outs. There are some books, hold on, there are some books around by Irish authors that have written about them.
Okay.
So you can get those and find out. They researched it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a passion of mine.
And the other thing is, you know that the British Israelites were up here looking for the Ark of the Covenant.
Who was?
British Israelites. They were up here 100 years ago, and they dug up there on the hill. They were looking for the Ark of the Covenant. It's just public misappreciation got rid of them after about 3 years.
Creator's never going to allow that to happen, I can tell you that right now.
But that's what they wanted. Right?
They've been looking for it forever.
Some friends of mine that were in Newgrange. Now, the most powerful place is not Newgrange, it's Doubt. Doubt is the powerful place.
We haven't gone there.
Yeah,
and you can walk into it at any time. It's on private land because the farmer kicked out the government.
So it's the same as here.
Shotguns. Yeah, no, this is government land, but in Doubt it's on private land.
Okay.
He kicked them out with shotguns.
You just walk around.
With shotguns?
Yeah.
So they're still the Fighting Irish, eh?
I haven't heard about
it. They were there and they dug a hole in the top and then they blew it up. The British Israelites. So the Harp Society.
Oh my God.
The Harp Society.
No, that was done by what they call it
it's terrible.
About 100 during the famine. Actually, that hole was dug. It was by one of the so-called scientific communities at the time.
Yeah, but
because they were searching, want to find out was there something else in Doubt.
Yeah,
Doubt has 2 different passageways.
Yeah, but they kicked them out. The Harp Society kicked them out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Harp Society couldn't gate.
So, do me a favor. A lot of people are very familiar with the 3 swirls, the vortexes that are associated with Newgrange, Douth, Nouth, right? I mean, they're very familiar with that. Yeah. How do you perceive that to be? What's the significance that you see it as?
You see, the part of my belief, I don't know about these guys, but the part of my belief is in Mother Earth, and that piece of paper, you have it there,
yes,
and the drawings, and the whole middle of that is the 3 circles. So all these religions, Christianity and everything, just robbed the 3 circles out so people couldn't live. They started making governments, kings, queens and everything and robbing it. But if you were to live with the drawing I have, there's no big people, everyone is equal. Mm-hmm. And that's what the 3 circles is. But now, here's one for you. I was in Newgrange one day, and when it lights up, this kind of a silver light lights up Newgrange, brightens up. Doesn't really light it up that much, but you can see the silver light. And then this gold light, when the sun shines in, comes down in a triangle in the middle of all this and shines up on the back wall. What's in Now, if you look at Newgrange, there's a big stone outside on the wall, which that stone was the doorway. There was a box over Newgrange with 2 big quartz stones in it. What were they for, the quartz? The whole lot. What would you think is in that triangle of light?
Well, it could indicate a couple of things that are coming to my mind. I mean, first of all, this whole entire this whole existence is based on the triangle.
Well, what I've seen,
and it's, you know, it represents the as above, so below in some ways, or it can be flipped the other way with a diamond shape, where you have the bases at each, you know, butted up against one another. And it is usually representing some sort of, I'm going to use binding to a specific doorway.
Well, what I've seen
isn't necessarily a good doorway sometimes. But
in the yellow light, in the triangle, the kind of a silvery haze was there on the triangle. And in that was a baby.
Okay.
Born unto human.
Okay.
Now, whatever they were at there, I have a funny feeling that the crystal stones and everything, they're trying to recreate something. But that's what I seen. I don't know anything
so you're
else.
Basically
I can just go by what I see.
Well, think about it. You're describing spirit creating itself into matter. Right?
Oh, was it people from out there?
Well,
coming?
True. Extraterrestrials.
And the people there were trying to recreate it again? And they lost it or something?
Well, there's no question that this reality is based on the triangle. Even there have been, I mean, if you look up at the stars, you can literally connect the lines, and they're almost all pyramids or triangular shaped structures. And then you, of course, look at the pyramids that are all over the planet. I mean, Laura here has been actually researching that for a while now, and you should tell them a little bit about that. It's pretty interesting.
Well, I live in Virginia. I don't know if you know. I mean, it's just south of D.C., and I probably live as far away from D.C. in Virginia as possible. But I've been hiking all over the Blue Ridge Mountains, and when I go up there, it's just those old pyramids and old structures, and everybody else is going, oh, these are natural rock formations. But there are blocks, there's right angles, there's walls, there's shapes they've carved in. Like one, I found a big, huge stone on one of the walls, and see, everybody I hike with just think they're not walls, they're cliffs, but they're blocks. Anyway, I found one that was a very specific shape. It had a giant bowl carved out in the top, and it was shallow, and it had a symbol on, well, I guess it was the front. It was a circle, and it had 3 squiggly lines off of it. And so I did talk to one of my friends who's psychic. I said, what's that? And he goes, oh, that was a time travel platform. And I go, well, it's a good thing I didn't stand on it. And he said, well, you know, that it wasn't activated right now. But everywhere I go, these are really huge structures, and they make up the dumbest reasons why they're there or how they got there. Like one is called Devil's Marble Yard, and it's this huge, like, football fields of these white stones that are blocks, and it looks really like somebody just blew it up. And then I also find a lot of carved circular things that have like a like it looks like things were in, like, to stand up, like artistic structures. And they say, oh, those are giant worms that were in there from ancient times.
What about Potomac Falls? We went on a mission last summer, and we went to Potomac Falls, which is actually on the other side in Maryland, and I was told to go there. And we went there, and we just about tripped out, and everybody's like, wow, look at the lovely, beautiful waterfall. And I just went, that's not a waterfall, that's a friggin' pyramid underneath the water.
Well, you can see where the water comes down.
The steps, the water came down the steps.
Right.
And then it had the flat surface on either side, exactly like the ones in Mexico. It was identical to them.
So when I was
incredible.
driving up to Dulles to get on the plane to come here, I'm always looking at the shapes of the mountains on either side, and one of the ones I saw, we found a mound up towards there, and I drove right by the mound on the way to the airport. I go, I know that one. And when we took pictures of it, we blew it up, and there was this blue energy coming off that mound.
Yes.
But then I looked on the other side, and I saw the shape of steps coming down this mountain. Now there's dirt and trees and everything all over it, but it's too symmetrical and doesn't look natural to me. But a lot, when you're not trained, I mean, once you turn it on, you can't turn it off. I mean, you're just like, look at that.
It's Mexico. Martin Brennan has been working there now. Many years is he there now?
It's a long time, yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I really want to check him out. Martin Brennan.
He's very low profile as well.
Okay. Well, you have to be. When you find this stuff, they're going to go after you.
In fact, all the astronomy here in Mead, anyhow, Loughcrew, Newgrange, and the rest was done by him. And then the academics practically never say it.
Of course not.
Because it's he that did it.
Because that goes against
and he had a
the
group
whole
of people
agenda.
with him, and usually so people
and Jack
like
Roberts done all the south of Ireland in his group.
But he also did up here as well, and up in Loughcrew.
Along with Brennan. They were all the one team,
Yeah, it was a small team. They're all amateurs, yeah. They all did it in the late 70s, early 80s. They marked out all the
so it's been going on a long time, and it's just now that we're really starting to
the academics have been getting into it, but very peripheral. Put it that way. And they're afraid their lives will be marked. Like we had up here, you were at his talk, the guy who talked about Dumningale, the man of the hostages up there. He wouldn't talk about the astronomy.
No.
You wouldn't. You can watch the sun go in there twice a year, a couple of days, twice a year each time. You can actually see it. Yeah, there it is.
I know, that picture's amazing.
Yeah. And yet that academic who will probably get his degree or has his degree on that mound won't go near it to see the sun go in. That's the way they all think.
It would shatter their whole belief system.
Yeah, but it's not a belief system. It's stupidity.
Yeah, well, that too. Well, it's still a belief system.
Yeah, well, you see, a lot of these guys that dug. You see, the problem was the dug Newgrange and the dug. When the dug Newgrange Nouth, and especially the guy that done Nouth, we know him. He's old now, but he was like God when he was doing this. But the problem was they knew how to dig, but they didn't know how to reconstruct. It's a disgrace what went on in Newgrange. They have big foam and Nouth, big foam blocks, concrete roofs, girders. They knew nothing about structure. They were great archaeologists, but they should have brought in structural engineers and ancient structural people. Like that mound up there, we studied that mound. When they dug that mound and took it all away, and we're putting it back, they put topsoil on top of it. Now, before that, there was subsoil, 3 different layers of soil, waterproof stuff, and clay.
Yes.
And now all the water is straining through it because the topsoil takes in all the water.
Sure.
And it's destroying it.
Of course. And eventually it'll just collapse, right?
And then they dig it back.
Yeah, and
they built it in such a way where it was phenomenally sturdy and withstanding all the rain.
But they made that mistake, and that's why Nouth and Newgrange is a disgrace. Now the stones in the front, a friend of ours put them stones. Do you know the stones?
Yes.
This white stone. A friend of mine done that.
Yes.
And he was there. He was a stonemason, and there was a fella helping him, and they got all these little round stones.
Oh, yeah, so that wasn't natural.
He'd say, Mickey, move that stone over another bit. Move this stone this way.
Oh, my.
All that stone originally was on the ground.
Whoa.
The quartz.
The quartz was on the ground, and them round stones were all positioned in the quartz.
Oh,
like a star map.
Yeah.
Ah, good woman.
Oh, man.
They thought when they dug this,
I'm a pincushion right
these
now.
arseholes, he was told he was only the worker, and they knew that it was belonged to the ground. All the crew had the stone in front of the mounds as well.
But people robbed it.
But people robbed it to build their houses, put nice stone on the porches on their houses and that sort of stuff. But they didn't know any better.
Right.
So, and there was 32 or 3 mounds on top of Loughcrew. It's a massive place, the Hag's Chair. And Sean will tell you about the hag and
That's crazy.
the shees. You see this, and just down the road from here, a mile from here, just down across there, there's a little old graveyard, but that's one of the homes of the shees.
The who's?
Shees.
The
Banshee.
shees. Oh, yes.
Yes, but we don't know whether the Banshee is there, but it's the home of shees in that place.
You know anything about that?
Mm-mm.
It's just down the road from here.
Tell us about the shees. I've never
Well,
heard of
Sean will tell you about the shees.
Okay.
Chat up Sean about the shees.
Chat up, Sean, about the cheese. I love it. I love it. Well, I want to thank you both
Come over here and tell this
so
over there
much.
about the shees.
We're not done. Yes.
I guess not. You guys hang on. We're still going.
There's 140 shees in the country.
140 shees.
Different types of shees. And
What
different
are
places.
they?
Yeah.
There's the all different types of shees and hags as well. And he knows it all.
Are
You
they?
mean these
But
are
I mean,
all-
Like fairy folk.
Okay.
oh, they're
Fairy
fairy
folk,
folk.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was like, well, what are she's? I've never heard of that term before.
Yeah, and hags and that as well, you know. So.
And why do they refer to Ireland more than any other country as the land of the fairies?
I don't know, because in Finland,
That's right.
they have fairies as well, and they live in big rocks, you know, and people to this day there. But we lost a lot of our old traditions. Like if here they used to put sheep's manure and cows into hortons, bury them, take them out at a certain date, and shake them at the land, and the crops would grow. It's like the round towers.
So it was like a thinks,
Yeah,
right?
but the round towers.
Ah.
Well, Sean will explain the round towers to you, but if you can get them. But the round,
You can get him.
the round towers, why the doors are up so high,
Right.
and all the floors in a round tower are at different heights, each floor. And the round tower, for some reason, they took all the tops off them, Christianity. And the clay was put into the bottom of the round tower, and they tuned the tower
To resonate at certain frequencies.
to resonate when they be chanting.
That would
And-
be why they took them off.
And the different
That
floors
makes sense.
or at different times they chant in different floors, and the move put in extra clay and all that for the type of chanting.
Because it was a certain frequency, it must be emitting. Now, see, that's what reminds me of the hurdy-gurdy instrument. Remember the hurdy-gurdy
Yeah, I know it,
instrument?
yeah.
They banned that because it was doing a certain frequency that was waking up the people or kept them awake. So they banned the instrument.
You know what else I'm seeing? It also activated white pillars of light that contacted the extraterrestrials.
Because we used to be in touch with our whole star family.
Which pretty much created specific portals or gateways or openings for they to be able to contact us more
Well,
regularly.
we were here with the Hopi Indian, and we're looking for portals all over Ireland as well, you know.
Oh, they've got to be everywhere. Well, of course, there's portals everywhere.
But the Indians all come here. This is one of their sacred places here.
Very.
Yeah, the Hopis and the Shawnee and different ones come here at different times.
Yeah,
to
that's
pray
fabulous.
Well, they reckon there's a portal over at Cormac, and King Cormac had stories of him going into the other world. There's a lot of stories about him going
Oh, really?
on and back to the other world. The only king that's associated, and they reckon that there's a portal over. Two nodes of energy meet beside Cormac, and it's like in the book, some of the books, Into the Mist by O'Connor. There's stories about King Cormac going into the other world and coming back, and it's the only king that's documented with the other world that they get rid of.
That where he actually acknowledged another
He
world,
actually acknowledged
right?
that he could go
Okay.
into the other world and come back.
Very interesting.
Well,
How long ago was that?
I'm not awfully sure.
Sure,
anyway.
Sean would tell you, but you.
Sean would tell you.
What you want to do?
Sean's busy.
You want to go on a tour with Sean around
But
the
Sean
hill.
has everything exactly.
They're going to bring you on a
precise
tour
and
of the hill.
That'd be fabulous.
And he's writing
Yeah.
books shortly.
Yeah, that's what he says.
For
And
20
he's been
years.
working on it for 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, but
Oh my
it's
God.
correct, you know, that it has to be
He
right,
has to be.
or he'll have all this gang of arseholes ganging up on him. If he makes one little mistake in that book, they will be out there.
That's crazy.
But he is
Yeah.
good. A lot of our information comes from Sean.
Yeah.
The ones about the chakra mounds and the map of Europe. Most of our information came from Sean, as well as the book, McAllister's book, which is over 100 years old.
Yeah, but as well as that,
Fabulous.
Sean can talk about the other end of Ireland just the same. If you ask
No, he's very knowledgeable.
what king is there and what year and whatever,
Very
who married
knowledgeable.
who and all that sort of stuff. So.
Now, wasn't Flynn McCool? He was a famous giant, right?
Well, he was a warrior,
Oh,
and he was a pretty brutal warrior as well. But he had the Nafina army,
Wow.
and he was a big man. The Hill of Allen was his stronghold. But Sean didn't know when he was born who was his mother.
You've referred to the Nafina a lot. Or is that Nephina?
NA would mean like the, and Fina then the warriors.
Okay.
F-I-N-A, and
But they were all female.
No.
No,
the
there was female warriors
The
here.
female warriors were the she-hirelings,
She-hirelings.
and they.
But they were all over Europe and all over
and
the
there is a
world at
mound
the same
of
time.
She-hirelings.
So the she kind of insinuates the fairies.
I'm not sure about that.
No.
I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm
No,
not
there
sure.
were warriors, and they were in the Middle East and everywhere,
Well, they were
and
called-
they fought for hire on that,
Okay.
and they had their child on their back, and
we were like Xena.
yeah.
That's what it was.
Notice that Laura says we were like. Just wanted to point that out. Anyway,
Well, I've been told.
it just blah out of her mouth.
And if they didn't like a man, they'd cut his head off, probably, you know. It
Yeah, they
wasn't
didn't mess
too-
around.
No, they didn't.
Or I should say we didn't mess around. No.
That's we did not.
So is there anything else you want to share before I tie this up? Just especially, you guys are like a wealth of information.
No, it's a pity we couldn't get this guy talking here. He's a wealth, but everything has to be documented, dates with him and all
Yes,
that sort of
yes.
stuff, you know.
But you can come back again. We tell you
Yes, we will. And thank you.
But
Thank you, Kerry.
one summer here we had a book, and we got all the people to write in what denominations there were and everything, and I think we had 173 different
Isn't that awesome?
only in about 3 months, but we didn't
So
know
awesome.
what some of them were, really,
Yeah.
you know.
And they all had a
But
connection.
I'll tell you one
Oh,
thing.
interesting.
Very
The
good point.
Aborigines, no, they're not telling anyone.
Yes,
I met the Aborigines here on a couple of occasions. They know,
yes,
and they're laughing at us.
yes.
You know.
And it needs to be that way.
Well,
It
I
needs
have a
to be that
question
way,
about.
Unfortunately.
I remember reading an article, I don't know, probably about a year ago or less. And, it's also because all the pedophilia and everything with the Catholic Church and, all their ties and everything. I was reading something where I felt like it sounded like the Irish were trying to throw the Catholics out. Is there some kind of...
I wouldn't be that well liked by the Catholic Church. I've been thrown out a couple of times. You know.
Right, but is there a movement at all?
There is.
Not only the bad ones.
But there is very nice, decent priests.
Right.
They are decent people
Yeah.
of all denominations.
Sure.
But the problem was they were allowed to get mixed up with the government here.
Right.
So who's running the show?
Yeah.
Is it the Catholic Church or the government? But now the church is there
Yeah,
and the government is here and the people is here.
right.
So
Good
that's
point.
why. But there will, through time, it'll even out to be another religion, because in towns here now you have 5 or 6 different churches sprouting up from
And that's
Africa
very different, right?
different places, and I think that's good.
Yes, because
They
it
haven't
used to
got the
be.
hold.
It used to be just a ton, like a very high percentage, were all Catholic, right?
When I was a child, I was brought by our neighbour, died. They were Church of Ireland Protestant,
Okay,
and decent people, good living people.
sure.
So we went to the funeral, and the Catholics were standing outside in a little country church, not only a church.
They weren't allowed.
And this fella said, "Where are you going, Mrs. Fae?" to my mother. And she says, "I'm going in to bury my neighbour." "Oh, you can't go in there, we're Catholics." My feet left the ground. I was a child, and we were at the front seat before I knew.
I bet.
But then the priest was given out in trim, and my mother was old at this stage on her walking stick, and she got up and she drew down on the seat. "What are you on about? Women. You were never married. You never got a ride in your life."
That's your mom. That's great.
Yeah, and she
Love it.
jacked. And she went up to the Protestant church the next week. And I met the Protestant minister in the pub, and he says, I'm saying nothing. And he says, I have an Oscar for her performance down in the Catholic one.
Oh my goodness.
For, you know. But that was my mother. Like,
wow.
So, you know.
So like mother, like son.
Well, I don't know. I had a sister. I had a sister when she died in Canada.
Oh.
Bridget. We call her Della, but Bridget, when she died, Indians came from all over Canada and Alaska.
Wow.
And they played Irish music, their style, in her honour for 2.5 hours in the removal. And it was winter, it was springtime of the year, snow.
That says a lot.
She fought all these rights for Indigenous people.
It's in your blood.
When the government screwed over Willie Nelson,
right,
the revenue,
Farm
yeah, they screwed him over. My sister put a thing out then, send Willie $5.
Yeah.
Right.
So they all sent $5. All the Indians sent $5, the whole lot. And Willie was as richer now than he ever was.
Right.
Yeah. So she was well known, you know.
That's fantastic. Well, and that was a good cause.
Yeah, and Joan Bias as well.
I tell you what, the farmers, I've met 3 elderly couples during that time when they came in, and they just, they were paying their monthly mortgages for their farms. They'd had 3rd and 4th generations farms, and doing absolutely nothing wrong. And they showed up at the front door and said, you need to move out.
Yeah.
You've got like X number of days to pack up all your stuff and go. And they were like, what are you talking about? I mean, we paid all of our bills on time, But that was when they had all the corrupt aggregate loans.
Yeah, loans, yeah.
So that if one didn't pay, they all got screwed.
True. And Joan Bias played a big part in it as well, you know.
Very big
We
part.
have a girl that comes up here at the odd time. She's an old rock star. And her and Joan Bias had, I think it was nearly 200,000 people on stage in front of the two of them together.
Yeah, I remember her back in when I was really young.
Comes here? Do you remember Wonder Woman?
Yes.
Yeah, she comes here.
Wow.
And she's into the crystal skulls and that sort of thing. And she's a regular visitor here.
You must have a lot of very interesting people that show up here.
I was standing down there one day, and this fellow says hi to me. And I says, hello. Need a hat on him, little pillbox hat. I said, I know that fellow. For a minute. I said, I'll talk to him. They stopped for a second talk. It's only when he was going up the hill, it was Michael Jackson.
You met him in person. Interesting.
He was making a cassette here, a record, about 30 miles away from here. And he just came up here one day.
I wonder if it was the Earth song.
I don't know. He was in a studio.
It was such an outstanding piece of music.
He was in a studio. He
was supposedly a very aware and very enlightened guy.
Yeah, well,
what everybody says. And he was
walked
taken
up there.
out.
He walked up there on his own, like, you know. There's no big entourage with him, like, you know.
Yeah.
But during the protest here, we had one day these guys were like something out of a film. Indians with big high hats on them, all dressed, and they rolled a red carpet out there.
Wow.
And this big kind of a goddess one came from India. Account of Tara. You see, there's a god. Tara.
In India,
In India, so this is why they were over here supporting.
There's green Tara, white Tara.
Right. But the Tara in India is the goddess of compassion. She's like Kuan Yin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So our understanding of our taxes in America, all the Federal Reserve taxes that we pay go 60% go to the Vatican, and the other 40% just go to the King and Queen of England. That's it. We know that.
The Queen of England owns all the shoreline, every pipeline, every electric cable. They want a big interconnector from here now, and she'll be collecting the revenue on the other side. All the pipelines that goes from here to England or from Europe to England, she collects. The shore is hers.
I think they're in the pockets of all the countries that, you know, the empire that the sun never sets.
There's 3 televisions in life. You have the Mickey Mouse television where they watch the soap operas.
Yes.
Then you have the guy that thinks he's a kind of a politician or a big businessman talking shit in the bars about this running the country.
Right.
But then there's the world one.
Yes.
There's a big television up there, the whole world. This old guy of the CIA could tell me about Libya going to be overthrown, Gaddafi, North Africa, the gold to buy oil. I said to him, standing at that wall, they'll never get Syria.
They won't.
They have it now.
Well, that
Not
remains
quite.
to be
Not
seen.
quite.
There's actually a lot of stuff changing now.
They thought they would have had it by now.
And you know why? Because they uncovered giants there. They have a Stargate there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They found ancient relics there. This is the stuff they're not discussing. They distract the public with all of the, it's about the oil, and it's about the territory. They're not on the central banking system.
Well,
there's that one.
Gaddafi had a big farm down the road here. I met Gaddafi as a kid.
Really?
Yeah. And I
He
tell
had
you,
a farm here?
he had several farms here.
Oh my.
And he had this one big place of his own. And he used to come there and he brought us in for coffee. I was a kid and I bought an ass, as we call him, a burra, a big Spanish one. And I went to Howard to get him home, you see. So it was about 15 miles. So we went down to collect him a couple of weeks later. And we met this fellow in a skirt, as I said, walking around. I didn't know who Colonel Gaddafi was.
Right.
But we had a big conflict with him. And he seemed to be all right with the guy. Like Libya was built. It was a school teacher from County Monaghan, where you were going to be heading up that way, that set up Libya. Gaddafi was the monkey. He pulled the strings, the puppet, and he pulled the strings behind him. And he set up Libya. And all the Irish companies, when Libya was being set up, it was all Irish companies that went over there and done the work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
very fascinating.
And the best way of life in the North Africa or the Middle East was in Libya.
It was.
Yes,
Yeah, strange enough.
No, we found that out. The reason, because he wanted to create a united Africa, United States of Africa.
Yeah.
He didn't want U.S. dollars. They were all going to have their own currency backed by gold. That's why that was one of the reasons they hated him so bad.
Yeah, because has America any gold? No. There's 13 families owns all the gold in America, no?
Well, that's what they say.
Fake.
We think it's actually
Fake.
Yeah.
But
we think it's above that.
Yeah, but my sister was very, very worried about the skull and crossbones, a lot of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And she says Vancouver Island,
That's very true. That's a very dark place.
dark.
Very
She
dark
went over
place.
there to look, her and the husband went over there to, he was thinking they might set up a place for fixing outboard engines of boats and all that business. And she says she thought she couldn't wait to get out of it.
Yeah, I heard.
She said it was very dark and evil.
I have fellow friends that are light workers, light warriors, if you want to call it that, who actually kind of act as a guardian in that location. They said it is so incredibly dark there.
Yeah, it frightened her.
And it's one of the most significant pedophile ring locations underground. And it's directly related to the Canadian government. It's directly related to it
annihilating the
but
natives.
you have to be careful with the word pedophilia because and the old head of the homosexuals in Ireland, he was one of the guys that supported us here. One day I just happened to say to him, how is all the queers going now, you know? Laughing, joking with him. I'm not bother on us. And he says to me, he says, the next new thing on the block, if you do something wrong, the government will stick a stamp on your forehead. Child molester. They done it to a policeman here that blew. He opened up and he told everything about what was happening, the corruption. So he's going on now at the present time, McCabe. And the other guy, the first thing that stamped on his forehead was molesting children.
That, and they put the stuff on your computer. They can do that.
And he went through hell, and it's all after coming out now. The other guy, he got sick, and he's recovered now. the stress of it all, he got bowel cancer and that. But there was 2 of them that came out, and now they're all appeared now, the woodwork, telling the corruption. And,
it's finally happening.
And they can have you murdered.
The revealing is finally...
Yeah, they can have you murdered as well.
I know.
We had a guy here, you know the fellow that Eddie? Eddie was a friend of ours, and Eddie used to be here at the wall, and he got the government. He filmed them looking for money at a meeting. He got them on corruption. He got them. It was all in the news.
Oh, he filmed them. Okay.
And his buddy, the detective that went in, the private detective, he got the files and brought them to the police station, robbed them and brought them to the police station for safekeeping. So they had to come out then. So he dead one morning, just like that.
He was a young man.
Young man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're familiar with a lot of that.
This last election, boy, Hillary people that were on the campaign there, they were dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Oh, man. They killed so many people during her campaign and in the summer before,
to try to
last
keep
summer.
her as president.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. But then the Duke, here, another trick here they pull is they catch you. They tell you they want you in the cop shop. And you go to the cop shop. And then they have a doctor there to sign, and you're in the mental home.
Right.
And now you can't get out. And when you do get out, well, who'd listen to him? He was in the mental.
Yep.
That, but sometimes, in America, I know people, they tried to give them drugs that would totally render them brain damage when they got out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's life. Yeah, he's going to go for a ramble up the hill with Sean.
Yeah, so I'd like to tie this up.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I just want to thank both of you. We really genuinely, we actually drove all the way back over here, which was not the direction we were going to go in, just because we enjoyed speaking with you. And I hope everyone has enjoyed this as much as I am. Again, we want to thank you, and we're sending you lots of love from the country of Ireland and the Hill of Tara. And thanks to JP and Kerry. I can never say it properly. And of course, Miss Laura, who's my companion. We wanted to send you lots of love. Thank you so much for once again supporting Galactic Connection. You know that we provide you 365 days a year free alternative news on a daily basis, really, really getting through just copious mounds of alternative articles and trying to deliver to you what we feel is the most relevant, looking at it through not only the third eye, but through almost an intuitive nuance. Don't forget that. So take care, everyone.
We'd like to thank you for coming here and talking to us, because we're only just humble country people from a farming background, and we're just thinking that all these people rushing off to work and buying their big cars and their big mansions, they can only go to the toilet once a day. Why do they have... See, we're going too fast in the world.
Yes, we are.
Slow down a little bit. And thank you for coming here.
Well, thank
and
you.
interviewing us.
Oh, I
and Kerry
appreciate
might
it.
say something as well.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you very much.
No, you're welcome.
Oh, your poetry
You're
is beautiful too. So thank you.
Thanks for bringing the awareness to the public.
What does Lucky think?
And Lucky, our fellow dog here.
Our pagan dog.
Our pagan dog.
And he's known all over Ireland.
Well, this has
that's
really been a highlight. One of the
Yeah.
highlights. This will be.
Well,
up
we'll
there.
get Sean to take us on a little tour around there.
Well, there you go,
And
guys.
I have Barda Tara at WordPress. I have my poems up on that now if you want to look at some of my poems.
Yes,
Oh, that's a good idea.
absolutely. That'd be terrific. So take care, everyone. We love you. And just stay in touch. We'll
and
see
to
you.
all your listeners out there.
That's right. All over the
And,
world. And we also have a lot of Irish listeners.
Oh, have you?
Yes, we do. We're going to hook up with some of them as we're traveling. So
They
take
might-
care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.